directly through an open door. You don't have to go back through the security guard, just any open door that leads you to the outside is the way we would want you to go. Any questions? Okay.
I'd like to call to order the regular meeting on January 28th, 2019. We're going to start this a little differently this evening. I'd like to introduce our new presiding judge, Myra Galindo. Could you come up, Myra? Just let the people see. I want to talk about you and tell her the council and I are happy to have her join us this evening. We're looking forward to her leadership as part of Goodyear's municipal court team. We went through a rigorous process to recruit Judge Galindo, who served at the Nogales presiding municipal court magistrate just short of 8 years, as well as serving as the court mediator for the Santa Cruz County Superior Court. Prior to becoming a judge, she served on the Maricopa County Deputy Attorney and Staff Attorney in the private sector. In addition to obtaining her Juris Doctorate from the Hamlin University School of Law, Judge Galindo double majored at the University of Arizona in political science and Spanish literature. We are so pleased that she's fluent in both English and Spanish and will better serve our diverse community. So welcome. We're so happy to have you.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen of council. It is a great joy to join into this amazing community that you have here at Goodyear, and I look forward to serving the community by delivering fair, efficient, and timely justice to everyone every day. Thank you very much.
We greatly appreciate that. One more round of applause. Okay, would you please join Councilmember Hampton in the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by the invocation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Lord, thank you for gathering us here today. I just thank you for a nation that we can freely worship you and freely share our opinions. I just pray that you'll be with our nation's military and also our local first responders here in the city and the state as well. Give the council wisdom to make decisions that are in the best interest of the citizens in the city. Thank you for the city staff and the effort they put in every day making Goodyear run and be efficient. Help us to always look to you for direction. In your name, amen.
All right, Councilmember Stipp is going to join us by telephone. Do we know, Councilman Stipp, are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, well, welcome, and I will try to remember to call you first so that I won't forget. Anyway, we do need an excuse from Councilman Campbell. She will not be joining us this evening. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I heard a motion from Councilmember Basillo and a second from Councilmember Loretano. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Well, let's go to the communication. We have 2 items tonight. First, the city would like to recognize the artists who were involved with the pilot public art program with the featured artwork on signal light traffic. Guyleen Oslenski, our arts and culture coordinator, will present and will be accompanied by the podium by participating artists, and we look so forward to this. Eileen?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This evening, we are going to recognize the creative accomplishments of our 5 artist teams that worked on the traffic cabinets as part of our pilot program for artist embellished traffic cabinets. With the crowd, I just want to make sure that all of our artists are here. Carson Greer, if you're in the audience, please come forward. And Nathan Butt, if you're here, please come forward. All right. As you're aware, we had 5 cabinets identified. The Arts and Culture Commission identified 5 of them for this pilot program. Those cabinets are located along Litchfield Road and Indian School Road in that corridor. Each cabinet that was painted tells a unique story and reflects the area that it's located in. All of our artists engaged the residents and the businesses located in those areas and really worked hard to find designs that resonated with the community. Our first cabinet that we want to discuss is Anthony Galto's cabinet. Artist Anthony Galto's here right next to me. This cabinet is titled Kronos, and it's located at Litchfield Road and Western Avenue. Anthony was assisted by an emerging artist named Maria Bueno, and this design is really about, it's storytelling. There's three sides that reflect the past, the present, and the future of the city of Goodyear, with designs that have such as dream catchers, a blimp being built, a flowing river, festive papel picado, and this really does reflect the history of that area. And we want to thank Anthony for sharing his story visually with us. Thank you. Our next design is a wrap, and it was created by Nathan Butt. It's called Polymorphic Desert. It's located at Litchfield Road and Auto Drive. And this design was created as a digital format and then printed on a vinyl that was wrapped on the cabinet. Nathan worked with the businesses that were right around that area, and what he heard was a resounding word that people wanted to see color. They wanted something that was exciting. And so Nathan was able to create this geometric desert design that kind of breaks off into confetti that's in the sky. And what's unique about this is there are 12 animals that can be found within this design. We wanted to thank Nathan for taking the community feedback and really reflecting what their desires were for this corner. Our next cabinet, moving northbound on Litchfield Road, is at Litchfield and Avalon Drive, and this is at the entrance to Goodyear Community Park. Artist Carson Greer created this design, and it's titled Serenity. This is a hand-painted cabinet, and it really captures the joy of being a child and getting to go to the park and play. And it is really a perfect accompaniment to the entrance to this park. We wanted to thank Carson for the natural beauty of the butterflies in this cabinet that really are eye-catching when you're going down Litchfield Road. Next cabinet was created by Becca Farmer. Becca's right here on my left-hand side. This is called Prickly Pear Cactus Bloom. It's at Indian School Road, 141st. This is right at a shopping center entrance. And so Becca worked really closely with the businesses in that area to kind of find out what they'd like to see in that design, what would reflect this area. And they really wanted to see something that was beautiful about our natural environment. And that's why a Prickly Pear Cactus Bloom was selected. There is one neat little tidbit on this. On the very top of the cabinet, there is an F-104 that's painted up there, and that really kind of is a throwback to our great history with Luke Air Force Base and the jets. But it's also very personal for Becca because her dad was a pilot in the 1960s as part of the Starfighter program at Luke Air Force Base, and so there's a little call out for that. So Becca, thank you for capturing history in a beautiful way. Our last cabinet is at Indian School and 144th Avenue, titled Loving Desert Living. And this is a mural mentoring project. So artist Bonnie Lewis, right here. Bonnie also teaches our Follow Your Art Junior program, and she got the teens that are part of that program to come out and work with her. And the teens, which are around me here, they were part of the whole entire process. They met with the Arts Commission, they went out to the community, they found out what the community wanted to see in their designs. They worked through the design process and presented those to the Arts Commission for approval, and then went out on site and hand painted this mural. And they really captured what happens in the community. The artists that participated with Bonnie include Caitlin Chill, Shannon Crossland, Aaron Forstner, Bianca Gonzalez, Eric Iniguez, Nisa Iniguez, Janice Ochoa, and Abby Stewart. We really want to thank all of you for capturing the spirit of the community. This was a great program. As you can see, each of these cabinets are beautiful works of art. They really elevated what you kind of see when you look at traffic cabinet programs in other cities. It reflects the different styles of each of these artists, but each one is a reflection of the city of Goodyear. Additionally, we want to recognize Goodyear graphic designer Sarna O'Brien Trainer. She worked on creating a template for the back door of these cabinets. Each one of these cabinets, the door is wrapped, and on there is the artist's signature, the name of the cabinet, an artist statement, and information about the Arts and Culture Commission. It's a great way to represent what artist created this work of art, but also it creates a cohesiveness through this program. Even though each cabinet's located at a different intersection, it's all part of one program. And so we really thank her for that work and doing that. I also want to thank our Arts and Culture Commissioners who were very instrumental in this process. They were involved in the selection of the artist, working through the design and the community engagement, as well as public outreach once the designs were finalized to really get public input to see if they liked what these designs were. Tonight in the audience, we have Commissioners Melinda Donovan, Rex Lambert, Fran Fee, Karen Olson, and Jen Barnes, and I really appreciate all the work that they do. After council comment, we do ask if we could get mayor and council together with the artists. We'd like to get one group photo if that was possible. I do want to thank you for your time. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you very much. And I'd like to turn it over to Councilman Pasillo because he was definitely on top of this project and really wanted to see it through. So, Councilman Pasillo?
Again, as I had a chance to meet you prior, I really want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. This goes to show what happens when we get the community involved, we get our artists involved, and adding some value to our community, especially for something that's just a silver tin box. And now you have some beauty and art sitting on these intersections. And again, I want to thank you. And my hope is this project continues and expands because I just love every one of these. And I like the fact that we've involved all of our artists in the community to see what do they want on that particular corner. So again, bottom of my heart, thank you very much for this program. I appreciate it.
And before you take your picture, we want a round of applause for all of the creativity and work you've done. So how do you want this picture taken, Guyleen? If you want just of the group here, that's fine. We can do it that way, whichever you think. I think that might be easy. So if the camera will come forward and take it, the audience in the back, that'd be great. So we'll just line you up in front of that over there. Right, do you want just a picture, Guyleen, of them? Okay, so you want them to come up and we'll stand. All right, everybody come in this way, we're gonna stand.
Come in closer.
Yeah, come in this way. Come closer. Okay, because there's too many people to go over there. Okay, all right. Ready, guys?
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
And thank you, Joe. Good job. All right, now is the time for the citizens who would like to address the city council on a non-agenda item. Do we
One more.
Do we have one more? Oh, I do this to you every time, don't I? So let's go back for the second presentation. Thank you, gang. So the next one is 4.2. Parks and Rec staff will present a preview of the special events occurring spring 2019. Brenda Hoey, Festival and Events Coordinator, presenting. Brenda, I apologize for that.
No worries. Good evening. Thank you, Mayor and Council, for having me tonight. Just to do a quick, brief introduction about myself, I did come on my second day of work ever here. Oh, can you hear me? There we go.
That's better.
Just to give you a quick introduction, my second day here was coming to a council meeting, so I figured I'd do a reintroduction. My name is Brenna Hosey. I'm your brand new Festival and Events Coordinator, going straight into the planning season, so I'm pretty excited. I'm here to give you a preview of the 2019 spring signature events that we have coming up. And as you may recall, one of the strategic goals for the next 3 years is to increase event attendance by 30%, which has been on the forefront of how I've been planning these events so far. Two of the events I'm going to show you tonight are events that are coming back. They're existing. We're throwing some new elements to it. And then I'm also going to talk about a brand new signature event tonight that we're very excited about. So going into it, there we go, sorry, sensitive. We're gonna talk about Heart and Soul. That's actually coming up this weekend. So if you wanna come out and join us, it is from 7 a.m. to 11 a.m. with the 5K kicking off at 9 a.m. And it's going to be our 14th annual event. So we've got a long-standing history with this of promoting heart health with our partnership with Abrazo. The next thing we need to know is that it's 2 routes. So you've got a 5K that goes down the street, and then you've got a 1 mile that takes you on a tour through the ballparks. You can actually see what are they up to getting ready for spring training? How's the field gonna look? And you know, there's 2 different activity levels. If you just want to stroll or if you want to see what your new time is, it's fun for the whole family, something for everybody. We've got a brand new kids zone that we're adding to this event, which is going to be a really fun inflatable. You'll have to see it for yourself. It's hard to explain, but it's basically getting your cardio up and having a fun dance party and bringing the message back that cardio is not hardio, and it's all about, you know, getting out there and having fun for this event. We'd really love to see you there. Like I said, Abrazo is going to be on site, and it's going to be a lot of fun. We've got a lot of great giveaways as well. The next event, Culture Pop. So this event is the very next weekend, February 9th. It's going to be from 6 p.m. to 5 p.m., but kicking that off is going to be the Naturalization Ceremony, which is taking place on stage. We have about 50 attendees that are getting naturalized that day. It's very exciting. And then just to back up and give everyone a little bit of history about this event is that it did used to be a centennial celebration called Tale of Two Cities. And then last year we merged it and turned it into Culture Pop, which still celebrates, you know, the merging of Avondale and Goodyear, but giving it a little more to do in forms of a block party. So it's very exciting for the community to get involved. We are going to have a fusion of culture and arts, live music, food and beverage, games and rides for the family. And we expect to have a large turnout. So hope to see you all there. It's going to be a lot of fun. And then something I'm very excited to talk about, and I want you all to get excited, is our save the date for an event called Hop and Hops. One thing that we took into account is the #1 request that we got from the community is to do something for Easter. So we wanted to answer that request with an event that we call Hop and Hops, which is the first of our 2 new signature events that have been outlined in the goals. The next one's to come, but I am very excited to plan this one. So while we're still working through the logistics of it, just to give you a little bit of a teaser about it, it's going to be April 20th at the Goodyear Ballpark, and it's going to be a midday event because we're going to merge your traditional Easter activities with an adult beer garden. So it's going to be something for everybody. The parents aren't going to be bored anymore.
You're going to have an egg and a beer?
A few things that we're looking to have are your traditional family-friendly Easter activities, candy giveaways, a really exciting egg hunt. We're looking to drop the eggs in a really interesting and provoking way that you could be sitting at the beer garden enjoying the drop, or you could be one of the kids ready to rush the field. So again, quick teaser because we're working on all those details for you, but we do anticipate this to be a crowd-pleasing, buzzworthy event that attracts not only Goodyear residents, but residents from communities outside of Goodyear. So we're very excited about that. Save the date, April 20th. We hope to see you there. That concludes my presentation. Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Well, Brina, thank you so much. This new one does sound interesting, doesn't it? I think we're going to be looking out for that one. And thank you. Welcome again.
Thank
because
you.
I know you're new and you've done a great deal. since you've
appreciate
been
it.
here, and I think we're really excited about this, and I think the public will too. So thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments from the council? Any questions? All right, thank you.
All right.
All right, now we're ready to do this, right? So now let's go for the citizen comment period. Now is the time for citizens who would like to address the city council on any non-agenda item. Is there any speaker cards?
Not for this,
No.
Mayor.
Okay, so we'll just go to the consent agenda. The next item on the agenda is approval of the consent agenda. Will the city clerk please read consent agenda items 6.1 through 6.6 by title only, please?
6.1, approval of minutes. 6.2, approve the budget transfers for fiscal year 2019. 6.3, First Amendment to AMR CFD development, financing participation, and intergovernmental agreement number 1. 6.4, approve expenditure for the Van Buren Street Estrella Parkway to Saraval Avenue construction project. 6.5, approve the final plat for Aldi Estrella Commons. 6.6, approve the recommended appointments to city boards, commissions, and committees.
Thank you. Are there any speaker cards?
No, Mayor.
Does anyone in the council wish to remove an item from the consent agenda? All right, then can I have a motion and a second to approve the items 6.1 through 6.6 on the consent agenda? Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
I heard a motion from Councilman Hampton and.
Second.
Do I hear a second? Councilman Kano. So roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Pizzillo?
Aye.
Councilmember Loretano?
Aye.
Councilmember Hampton?
Aye.
Councilmember Kano?
Aye.
Mayor Lord?
Aye.
The motion carries.
Okay, thank you.
Aye.
Sorry. I apologize.
Thank you, Bill, for reminding me that you were there. We
Voices
registered-
from Fort Bragg. What can I tell you?
Yeah, we registered your vote. I just want you to know that. All right, so are we ready to go to the business, city clerk, or do you have?
Actually, I have the swearing in of the
Okay,
people
you're
here
going,
for
so now the city clerk
boards and
will
commissions.
administer the oath of loyalty
And I
as
pass my thing.
up to the final I 6.6. So do you have the names?
I do.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and.
So just to know the audience know, this is on the consent agenda for
Correct.
the appointment recommendation. And it was passed, so she's going to now call them forward. Okay, thank you.
So we're going to do it by commission. So for those who are being appointed or reappointed to the Arts and Culture Commission, Aubrey Jones, Jennifer Barnes, and Brian Cross, would you please come forward and be sworn in? Hi. Yeah, I think that's where we have space. Bring it back to your next meeting. Okay. All right, so raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name. Do solemnly affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution and laws of the state of Arizona, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same and defend them against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of board member according to the best of my ability. So I do affirm. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And so our next commission or board is going to be the Board of Adjustment. So Carl Hamilton, Joyce Mercado, Queth Ewell, and Sherilyn Holman. I was going to say, does Charlie get sworn in too? Okay, please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name. Do solemnly affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution and laws of the state of Arizona, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same and defend them against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of board member according to the best of my ability. Congratulations. And maybe you guys back up, right? So our next board is going to be the Fire Building Code Enforcement Appeals Board. So Kelly Reynolds and Scott Wunderlich. Sorry. Is it just one? Hi. So just repeat after me. I state your name. Do solemnly affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution and laws of the state of Arizona, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same and defend them against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of board member according to the best of my ability. So I do affirm. Congratulations. Gary, would you like to thank them? So our next commission is going to be the Parks and Recreation Advisory Commission. So we have Jeremy Sawyer, Keisha Beard, Kim Harris, Sherilyn Holman. So raise your right hands. Repeat after me. I state your name. Do solemnly affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution and laws of the state of Arizona, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same and defend them against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of Commissioner according to the best of my ability. So I do affirm. Thank you. Congratulations. So our last commission tonight is the Planning and Zoning Commission. So we have Greg Clymer, Kathleen Maloney, Patrick Bray, and Randy Barnes. Please come forward. Okay, so raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name. Do solemnly affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution and laws of the state of Arizona, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same and defend them against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of Commissioner according to the best of my ability. So I do affirm. Congratulations.
Going to say something?
Yes. Before you all leave, I think a couple of you already left because we are kind of packed in here tonight. I want to thank everybody who just got sworn in and volunteers for the city and some of the other people here on the commissions that help us every day. Without our volunteers, we wouldn't be nearly as successful as we are in the city. We are so grateful and so fortunate that people like you step up every day to serve the city. So again, thank you from all of our hearts. I'm kind of speaking on behalf of all of us. So thank you very much for your service and all the great work you do to make Goodyear great.
One more time. All right, now we're ready to go on to the business. I'm going to talk to you in the audience just a little bit before we start this, okay? First of all, I greatly appreciate that you grouped together because there's a number of you here tonight that want to speak. And so some of you feel the same way as one of your speakers, so you would cut it down. Is it about 11 speakers we have tonight? Is that the count? I think I counted.
No, we have 4 pages of speakers.
We have
Mayor.
what?
There's like 4 pages of them. There's quite
All
a
right,
few.
well then I'll just go on with my explanation and we'll get to that. All right, so I'm strict as far as council meetings go, all right? So I just want to warn you ahead of time. I understand your concern. It's all very personal. You own property. You live in Goodyear. You have an opinion on this, and I respect that. But what I won't tolerate is I won't tolerate clapping, cheering, outbreak of remarks. You will sit there and listen, and we will sit here and listen and consider seriously your requests, your ones that are pro and the ones that are against it. I just want you to know we're very transparent on this council, and we will be that way tonight. And we have looked into this and been continuing to look at it. So I will tell you once it gets to the question and answering, but I actually drove to your community today, and I sat there for an hour, 15 minutes, and I counted cars. I looked at the lights, and so I stayed there. I also have driven up and down Indian School several times. I live right there. I live almost on it. So just so you know, from the mayor and the council, we try to be very fair about things. You may agree to disagree. That's part of the political role. So anyway, with that, I'm going to open the business. The first item is a public hearing to consider the amendment to the Palm Valley 5 Planned Area Development, Aviva Goodyear. So we have Steve Carecci, Planner 3, presenting this. Steve?
Good evening, Mayor, Council members. We do have an amendment to Palm Valley 5 for the Aviva Goodyear project. And this is the property. It's property right here, 16 acres, northeast corner, Falcon and Indian School. Palm Valley Phase 5 wraps around to the north, south of Indian School. We have the Pebble Creek community. We have Falcon Park right adjacent to the east, wraps around to the north. We got Bullard Wash here running north-south. We also have 2 schools in the area, elementary school northwest of the site. We also have a high school located to the east. We also have an assisted living Goodyear retirement located here on east of the Wash. Current condition, the zoning right now, this is Palm Valley Phase 5. This slide shows the extent of Phase 5. Zoned in 2003. Mix of uses. We have a lot of this yellow color, single family. We have some commercial. We have some open space. We have the school right here. This is the subject parcel right here, zoned high density residential. At time of zoning, it was capped to a max of 18 dwelling units per acre. So given the 16 acres, that's 288 units that are approved for this property. Had a couple amendments also since then. We had the amendment for the Goodyear retirement piece right here to allow that assisted living facility on the site, also to increase the allowed height for the building. We also had a change here right across the street for the villa development. went from commercial to multifamily. And this is from 2008. It's overall Palm Valley master plan. Subject properties right here. And you can see from this map, it reflects the change from 2003. It shows it as high density residential. And in 2007, there was a site plan that took advantage of the zoning and did come forward. 288 units. Primary access off of Falcon, emergency only access also off of Falcon. 2-story buildings dispersed throughout the site. However, with the economy at the time, the site never developed and the site plan did expire. However, the property owner and the developer think that the time is right for another try at single or multifamily development. What this slide shows an illustrated site plan, what the property owner and developer would like to construct on the site. Conforming with zoning, it has the 288 units. Here's the mix of unit types. Most are 1 and 2 bedrooms. You have a few 3-bedroom units. Primary access is off of Falcon right here. There'll also be an emergency only access right here through Falcon Park. It will have the gate that's required for fire code for this emergency access only. Internal circulation, residents will come in here, circulate through the site, circle around through this drive aisle, and come around. Amenities, main clubhouse right here, main pool, a couple turf areas, and another pool. Also proposed dog park here, playground, and a sports court along Indian School Road. Also be 2 access points to Falcon Park, proposed here and here, so residents can have access to the public park. With the zoning, multifamily development is already allowed. However, the applicant did have a development plan that they've worked with in another city that they would also like to replicate here on the Goodyear site. Because of that, they had 5 requests to the development standards that were applicable to this property. And these are the 5 requests to development standards here. I'll go over through each one in more detail in later slides, but just want to confirm also that with these 5 requests, there's no change to the use, the multifamily use, nor the density. The developer will conform to the 288 units that are allowed. First request is building height. The current condition, 30 feet maximum height for the roof, additional 5 feet for parapets, architectural elements, unoccupied structures. The request is they want to go to 37 feet for building height and 45 feet for the parapet. Reason for the change, 3rd floor, the applicant would like to do taller ceilings, a vaulted ceiling. Also place additional insulation between floors for soundproofing. So effectively, we're looking at a change from what's allowed by code, 35 feet, request to go to 45 feet. And I should point out that zoning that's applicable to this property does not regulate number of stories, just maximum heights in feet. So whether it's 1, 2, or 3 stories, zoning does not regulate just the maximum height in feet. And in looking at the request for building height, what staff looked at was a central location of the buildings along with surrounding buffers of Falcon Park wrapping around, buffers of Indian School Road and Falcon, that the separations from any single family development were at least about 225 feet. So staff recommendation to Planning and Zoning Commission had been to recommend approval of that height increase. Also because that height increase would allow additional architectural elements for the visual of the buildings, as well as allowing screening of any rooftop equipment. Next request, rear yard setback. Given the depth of the lot, 1150 feet, 20% of that would be looking at a setback of 230 feet. And that's roughly this line here. So there would be no building within this area here with a 230-foot rear setback. The applicant's request is 30 feet, which is this line right here. In reviewing other multifamily developments within the city, when we had multifamily directly adjacent to single family, we're looking at setbacks between 50 and 100 feet. When that multifamily development was not adjacent to single family, when we had a buffer in between, we were looking at more typical 30 feet. Given the separation, again, of Falcon Park here, we did not see any issues with going with the more typical 30 feet. And that also allows the provision of the central amenity corridor. In lieu of placing all of the amenities here, the applicant can make a design that has this corridor with all the amenities inside. Next request concerns patios and balconies. Zoning code requires each multifamily unit to have a private patio or balcony, at least 60 square feet. The applicant is requesting to go down to a minimum of 45 square feet. However, what they are going to provide is a 100 square foot patio for the ground floor units. And then for the second and third floor units, they would range from about 45 to 57 square feet. And overall, the complex would average 60 square feet. Next request is a landscape setback. Along Indian School Road, there is a requirement for a 30-foot landscape setback, and within that setback can be no structures, no parking lots, anything like that. The applicant is requesting to place recreational amenities within that area. Again, it's the dog park, the playground, and the sports court, and then the ability to place a 6-foot solid block wall along that area for screening purposes. Given this drainage channel here, it's about 80 feet wide, along with the right-of-way for Indian School Road. We had a significant separation between these amenities and any of the surrounding properties, especially Pebble Creek down to the south. And given that the landscaping, existing landscaping within the drainage channel, along with the landscaping that will be supplemented by a developer, we'll have a dense tree canopy and landscaping along Indian School Road. And then the last request, along in this area, the lighting code states that light poles within 30 feet of a residential property line could be no higher than 6 feet. What the applicant would like to do is propose lighting fixtures with a height of 15 feet, given again that this property line along Indian School Road isn't shared with any other single family. We thought that is appropriate to recommend approval of the light fixtures to 15 feet. Especially with the lighting code, all fixtures will require to be shielded, so there will be no impact to traffic along Indian School Road or the neighbors to the south within Pebble Creek. Neighborhood meeting was held on November 13th. 12 residents from the surrounding area did attend. Majority were in opposition to the project. Because this is a PAD amendment, we did notify through our standard procedures, including a sign, a mailing, and a legal ad. This slide here just shows with the 500 feet mailing that we require. The properties that received the mailing are highlighted in red. We also sent notice to the schools, surrounding HOAs, and Luke and Phoenix Goodyear. Staff did receive several emails and phone calls as a response of this notice. I did provide several within the council packet. Since that time, I've also received 7 more, all in opposition to this request. Planning and Zoning Commission held on January 9th. 21 residents spoke, 20 in opposition to this request. Planning and Zoning Commission took action to recommend approval to the council. A couple changes. They did remove the stipulation that would have allowed the height increase up to the 45 feet. So as it stands before you today, the request or the ordinance reflects the standard building height of 30 feet and 35 feet for parapets. Planning and Zoning Commission also had a stipulation to require approval of a traffic study prior to approval of any site plan. With our evaluation of this request. We do find a request is consistent with the general plan, will be compatible with the surrounding area. Again, some of the things that staff evaluated, the large buffers provided by the park and the surrounding roadways, the access to the park, providing efficient access for residents here to a public amenity. Also, direct access to an arterial street. Also, we recognize that the Palm Valley Phase 5 zoning already permitted multifamily development on this property, the 288 units that are approved by zoning. And the fact that the amendment tonight before you would not change the impacts to our city infrastructure and services, things like roads, fire service, water and sewer. Those are based off of the unit count, the 288 units, and this amendment does not propose an increase in that number. So those impacts do not change whether the amendment is approved or disapproved. Next step in the review process for a multifamily apartment would be site plan review. As part of the site plan review, that goes through a development review committee with the city, and that's made up of engineering staff, traffic engineering staff, police, and fire. So those departments all have a role in ensuring that the future development will be consistent and conform to all of the city codes, regulations, and ordinances. As part of that review, site plan will also require a traffic study that will go through our traffic engineering group so they can assess the impacts and any mitigation that would be required of this development. Staff and the Planning and Zoning Commission, our recommendation is approval subject to the stipulations in the attached ordinance. Again, the ordinance reflects the changes that happened at Planning and Zoning Commission, have provided that if should council decide to go with the height as requested by the applicant, then we would request that this stipulation be a part of any motion. With that, Mayor, that concludes my presentation. I know that the applicant is here and they also have a presentation as well.
Thank you. So the applicant's here and would like to make a presentation?
Yes, Mayor.
All right, have him come forward, please. I think you know this. Speak your name and address, please.
Good evening, Susan Dimmitt with Gamage and Burnham to North Central in Phoenix. With me is, I'll have him introduce himself when he speaks, is Jose Romero with Housing Trust Group, who's the proposed developer of Aviva Goodyear. I'm going to make just a couple brief introductory remarks, and then Jose is going to focus a few comments on the height amendment itself and talk a little bit about the Aviva community. We know there are a lot of residents here that want to speak, so we'll try to be brief on the front end in respect of that. What I really wanted to focus and hone in on is something that your staff has already noted in their comments this evening, is that there are a number of things that are not on the table that are outside of the scope of our request this evening. As Steve mentioned, the land use, the zoning, the multifamily zoning for this property has been in place since 2003 with the Palm Valley PAD. That's about 16 years, and that zoning was put in place before any of the houses in Palm Valley Phase 5 were built. The second component is the density, and the number of units are also not part of our application request tonight. Those items were determined when the zoning was approved in 2003, the 288 units that are allowed, the 18 dwelling units per acre. That is consistent with our request and with the prior site plan that was approved on this site. The final item, although we have requested a height amendment, the number of stories that are proposed, 3 stories, can be built on the site today with the existing 30-foot height limit with a 35-foot for parapet limit. Jose is going to focus his comments on our height amendment request and how we believe that adds value to the project and allows us to build a better community than could be built without that height amendment request, and really is a better community, a much better community in our view than what was approved in 2007. Our request of you tonight, after you consider all of the public testimony, is we are hoping that you recommend approval of the PAD amendment request with, as originally filed. You know, we want the height amendment stipulation that Steve mentioned to be included in your motion. With that, I have a Housing Trust Group representative, Jose Romero, who will talk to you a little bit, give you a brief presentation on the height and talk a little bit about the Aviva community.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Thank you for this opportunity. Again, I'm going to focus my comments on the height, but I'm happy to answer questions on anything else. Our community is a luxury market rate community, and as we will see later in slides, our rents are much higher than those of current competitors in another market in Mesa that we built, and we believe that we've achieved this mainly because of this amenity corridor that we've created and the amenities that we placed in there. Among them, we have a half football field for a pool. It's one of the longest in Arizona and definitely the longest of any apartment community here. We have a fireplace that's, again, a huge amenity for our residents. We have a dog park, playground, and we will kind of go over all of these a little bit later. Generally, when you build three-story or a garden project, you separate the buildings across the site, and because buildings require a certain separation from each other, there's grass and space and sidewalks between those buildings. What we've done is by elongating our buildings and placing them in the center of the site, we've been able to take all those little pieces of grass and combine them into this large amenity corridor for our residents. As you can see, because it's in the middle of the site and the tall buildings, which we are requesting the height to 45 feet, and this has already been achieved here in Mesa, by Goodyear standards, our buildings are 45 feet because of a stipulation in the crown of the road is the measuring point, but the actual height of our buildings is 43 feet. In Goodyear, they will also be 43 feet, but based on the measuring point, it's considered 45. So here we're looking at a Goodyear measurement of 45 at approximately 200 feet away from where this picture was taken. The building in the front is the loft building, which you can see right here. These are the two-story, which is what we put on the exterior, and these heights, even at the tower, is 28 feet, which is actually shorter than most of the houses along Westview Road. The lowest point is 24 feet, and as you can see, that 45-foot tower already at 125 feet doesn't cross the threshold of what could be allowed, which would be 35 feet at the exact same point. Looking at it from further back, this was the furthest I could possibly get from my project before hitting a wall. So that was 180 feet, and at 180 feet from my loft building, here is the 45-foot tower at approximately 250 feet. Again, no large tower really occurs that close, and it's still below the 35-foot threshold that you would normally see in a typical garden-style community. Most are 425 feet away, which is this teeny tiny little tower way back here. It's about 425 feet, and if you're looking at it from the south, looking north onto our site, this is the 325-foot tower. So again, it's approximately the height of 24 feet of the loft building. So here we have three product types. Two are Avivas, and one is what is considered a typical standard three-story garden project. In a typical three-story garden project, these are the current rents that are being achieved in Goodyear. I believe that Goodyear will surpass my Mesa rents by a good $100, and my current Mesa rents outperform my current competitors in the market by an average of $300. My next closest competitor, who also built within 12 months of me, is still at a $100 deficit to our current rents. And we believe that a lot of this has to do with our luxury amenities and that amenity corridor. I've placed kind of what we took, and these are within the last 2 weeks, market study of the projects here in Goodyear. So this is our view from the street. Our clubhouse with cabanas and our pool. The interior of our clubhouse. Our fitness center, which we're actually expanding here in Goodyear. The inside of our units, these are quartz countertops, energy efficient appliances. This is national green building standards, and something I want to mention is that when we look at our height request, the reason we need it, part of it is national green building standards. I actually can't build a building that meets national green building standards within the 33 feet that I would need to build here in Goodyear, since I'm at a deficit of 2 feet. And as a result of that, I can't put the insulation and the soundproofing between the floors that my residents would want for living in a very luxurious apartment. On top of that, we have the vaulted ceilings, which add value to our residents, and also increases not only the rent, but the average tenant. So our average median income at Aviva is almost twice that of other communities in the area. This is a view of our one-bedroom apartment, our basketball court, the dog park that we're requesting, along with the agility course. It's about 4 times the size of any dog park at an average apartment community that actually does provide one. And again, I want you to focus our height. Here, there's about a 10-foot difference between right here, which is our lowest point, and this tower or these towers. Most of these towers actually occur on the inside of this amenity corridor. It's for our residents. It's not mainly set on the outside. On the outside, we have very few. This is our fireplace, and again, that 10-foot difference between these is almost imperceptible. This is a view looking south from our amenity corridor. And the last slide, we've been shocked at how many entrepreneurs we have at Aviva. And what we figure is that a lot of entrepreneurs are actually going to WeWork, and WeWork because it's cheaper than renting C-class office space. Well, what's cheaper than WeWork is Aviva. It's free. It's already included in your rent. And we've been focusing on these co-working spaces. We have pitches every week in our conference room. We've now been nationally recognized as one of 3 finalists for the top garden project in the country. Our online reputation is top 1% in the country, and AZRE magazine just named us as potentially one of the top apartment complexes here in Arizona. I really thank you for your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions on anything.
Thank you very much. We appreciate the presentation. All right, there are a number of speaker cards, so before we begin here, I just give you one more warning that if I hear noise and interference and interruption, I will clear the room, and I don't want to do that, okay? So I know how hard it is, but just try to retain that, all right? So the city clerk will start calling out the names, and before, be sure that you say your name and your address. You have 3 minutes to speak. When the yellow light comes on, that kind of gives you a hint that you have 30 seconds left to speak. So, please go ahead and start announcing so they can come forward.
Michael Mitchell. He actually submitted online a couple weeks ago.
All right.
Brian Ellison. Mayor, just, I guess for the record, we'll go ahead and say for Michael Mitchell, it was oppose the recommendation.
Right.
Brian Ellison, and he opposes the staff recommendation. Linda Dominguez Hassler.
Do you have the same list I have up here too, like this one?
There's actually multiple pages to that.
Yeah, you have that.
Yeah, I'm just going by the cards.
Okay, I just want to make sure we get them all called. All right.
Good evening. My name is Linda Dominguez Hassler. My address is 15190 West Glen Rose Avenue, Goodyear, Arizona, and I live in Phase 5. First of all, good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members. I first want to thank you for giving me this time to speak. I wanted to talk about some of the issues I see with the amendment. I want to start with some of the financial concerns, and I want to start with the school overcrowding. 288 units, that's a possibility of 2 children per unit. That's an additional 576 students. Currently, Mabel Pageant, which is in walking distance of the apartments, which I believe these children would attend, is currently a K through 5, and they're currently at 771 students. And that they are at a 30 student to class size. If we were to add, and 2 children per unit of 288 is a conservative, it could be more, it could be less. If we added an additional 576 students, Mabel Pageant would have a enrollment size of 1,347. Per Arizona state law, you're only allowed to have so many students per class before you have to hire an additional teacher. My calculations are additional 19 teachers at $30,000 apiece. I'm assuming that's their starting salary, is additional $570,000. And that eventually gets passed on to the property owners, which would be myself. The next issue I have is traffic. The increase in wait time to access Indian School Road from Falcon. My understanding is there's going to be 600 car spaces, which means there will be 600 cars. 600 cars coming out of, from the diagram I see, we have one exit besides a fire exit going in and going out. That's 600 cars going in, and that's 600 cars going out. You can imagine my frustration with just being able to get my child to school and get to work downtown. The other issue I have is increase in fire, police, and utilities. That's 288 units. That's at least 288 more people who could have fire and police. If we're going to need to hire additional staff, that's, again, money out of our taxes and out of my pocket. Liberty Utilities, they're now going to house 288 new units. Okay, I only have 18 seconds left, so I'm going to go. I believe the loss of use would be irreparable harm, and I would recommend those here who think that we have a legal remedy in the form of adjunctive relief, such as an application for a temporary restraining order, should think about it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, Gail Tolliver.
My name is Gail Tolliver, and I live at 15302 West Roma Avenue. To the mayor, vice mayor, and the council, women and men, thank you for allowing me to speak. So I spoke at the last meeting, and I'll just reiterate some of that. I keep hearing 288 units, as if I guess that's finite, because I keep hearing up to 288 units. So I assume that was a done deal, and was it 2003 or whenever it was before I actually had my home built. That's one concern of mine. Another concern is what percentage of these apartments would be Section 8. I keep hearing the word luxury apartments, which is fabulous. It looks great. It's wonderful. Does it fit into the Goodyear bedroom community that I built in? Absolutely not. If you go around and look at some of the other apartments, townhomes, patio homes, 2 stories, I don't understand why we're doing a different idea just on this particular piece of property that we need to go to 30, whatever the parapet height is. A couple of things specifically. When I bought into this particular community, I really liked the look and feel and the vistas and the views. I keep hearing about how there's nothing that's going to be obliterated. I can tell you that the retirement community that's 3 stories was an eyesore. It still is. It was built. There's nothing we can do about it. But to say that that didn't affect views and vistas is just not genuine. To also say that there's not going to be a concern with traffic. I travel almost every week at various times throughout the morning, and the wait time has gotten longer and longer and longer, even since the apartments were built across the street, those single stories. So I don't know if there's going to be a traffic study done, but I can tell you that it's becoming a highway up and down Falcon with people dropping their kids off at Mabel Pageant. I also know, because I have a friend that works at Millennium, that school sizes are over the top. So even if we add just a little bit, the tipping point, what is that? Last time we brought this up at the last meeting, we were told that that particular council did not care or wanted to deal with that. That was not their responsibility about the increased class sizes, but I think that that's pretty important. course, for most of us here, we all wonder if this matters at all. When we're here, we're talking, we're sharing, we're giving you our ideas. Is it a done deal? Again, that 288 unit number just is bugging me because that I keep hearing up to 288, up to 288, as if that's a finite number, where we didn't even have a discussion. Can we even look at plans for two-story? I'm an interior designer. I know you can go back to the drawing board and redraw and replan. It is not the end of the world. It's the way it works. So that is also a concern of mine. So to end, as I've got, I think, a few seconds left, for those of us in this community, we bought here, we live here for a reason, and I hope that you really listen to what we say. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Rosie O. Robeson.
Good evening. Rosia Robinson, 4774 North 153rd Lane in Goodyear, Arizona. Thank you for your time. I wanted to, let's see here. So I understand that today we're not discussing if we're against or for the apartments, that we are focusing on the proposed changes by the developer. I drove personally to the development over in Mesa, and one of the big difference between the development here in Goodyear and the one in Mesa is that the one in Mesa is directly off of the 202, surrounded by vacant land. Here in Goodyear, it would be surrounded by the community, the school that my children go to, the park that we go to and we play on a regular basis. And that's what I want to focus on. I am against the three-story apartments, the difference in height. It was originally approved a certain way for a reason. Whatever studies were done, were done. I know that we can't change that at this point, but if we're going to build apartments, let's stick with the original plan that was agreed to. And the setback, moving the apartments further closer to the apartments, basically means that when my children and the other community members go to the park, now they're surrounded by a fence and tower buildings, and that's just not what we expect in Goodyear. That's not why we moved to the suburbs. If we wanted to be surrounded by buildings, we would live in the city. And so I just am a little bit frustrated, and I've never participated in an event like this, but I feel so strongly about it that I just felt that it was important that I stand here shaking in my boots and my heels and just express my concerns, because I've spoken to so many people that can't be here today because they have to be at home with their little ones or they're just getting off of work making dinner. But I've spoken to the members in the community and everyone is very frustrated. So I just, like I said, I am against the three-story height. It affects our community values. We all know that. I drive in and out of the community. I literally will go out for a walk and I will pick up trash because I care about the way my community looks. So hearing that we have new height in light fixtures or lights is not going to affect us, it is. And we're not Mesa. Mesa, like I said, is next to the highway, next to nothing. They're trying to bring this in to Goodyear that is surrounded by families. And so I thank you for your time, and I respectfully request that you vote no against the proposed changes. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Edward Lufker.
Sat all the way in the back, huh?
It's a long trip, I know.
I'm Eddie Lufker. I live at 15188 West Westview Drive. You're right out front in my front window. I open my blinds and I'm gonna see car lights coming in while we're trying to watch TV and everything. I walk my dogs along the street. You know, I gotta worry about increased traffic. They go as fast as anything as it is right now on Westview. I can only imagine what's going to happen on Falcon. So, like this young lady here, I live there. I care about this place. Yes, I did grow up in New York. And I just wanted to say that I hope that you vote no. We don't need 30 or 40-foot building right outside my door. Thanks.
Thank you. Next.
Don Blake.
Good evening, Council and Mayor. My name is Don Blake. I am the Courtesy Patrol for Mesa Aviva. I know
Your
I'm on,
address.
I'm sorry, 8340 South Base or East Baseline Road, apartment 3012.
Thank you.
I live there. I am the crime prevention officer for the Mesa Police Department. There was a lot of concerns when Aviva was going in out there as well. Same concerns that I've heard here. I do know that Aviva does not. It's not in a Section 8 property. It's ran by Mark Taylor. There's standards that they have. Aviva out in Mesa, which I'm assuming they would do here, they are crime-free housing out there. We call it TriStar. I'm sure they have something like that here in Goodyear. And that has a lot to do with plants and stuff, so you can see through things and crime stays, away from it. Since I've been there as Courtesy Patrol, I've had maybe 12 calls from residents, and that's from their neighbors being, having parties and stuff. I do talk with the police officers. There is not an increase in crime. They've gone there because of, the fire has gone because of health issues and stuff. But I don't get the calls for crime, whereas I would direct to call Mesa PD, which I have not had to do. They are developing the vacant land next to it. There's going to be houses there. Yeah, we have the freeway on one side of us, but they are developing the land all the way around there. Mark Taylor takes great pride, as well as this developer takes great pride on the appearance. The appearance is very nice. We were concerned also from the police department standpoint about what it would look like, what was going to increase our property. We have a 55 and older community property across the street from it. And they were concerned, and their concerns have gone away because I go in and talk to those properties as their crime prevention officer. We've had no issues that go on at Aviva. They are very community involved. They know what's going on around them. They take their concerns. We also have a lot of community events inside. I live alone in the apartment. There's a lot of us that are single there. It's not huge families that live there as well. There are some with kids, but it's very condensed and it's very manageable. The amenities there keep people there. There's and not 300 cars are going to be coming in all at once and going out. So that's not there is some. There was a great concern out in Mesa about the traffic going in and out as well. So they did a one-way. The only way that they can go out, they have to go up to the light if they want to make a U-turn or go down another road. Other than that, they are going to have Courtesy Patrol. It has been when they started. It's going to be a retired Border Patrol agent. I already know who he is, and police officers went in there and had a talk with me when I was there yesterday, and we talked to the residents just to quash any kind of concerns. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
RK Tam opposes the staff recommendation but does not wish to speak.
Thank you.
Zanette Tam opposes the recommendation and does not wish to speak. Romina Martucci opposes the staff recommendation and does not wish to speak. Michael Prater.
Michael Prater, 4470, 153rd Lane, Goodyear. There are ordinances and policies in place to protect our community of Goodyear. It's for our residents to preserve our desert vistas and the scenic mountain views that we purchased here for. I came from the city with all these tall buildings. It's not what I expect from Goodyear to something that's 45 foot high. It's just not. Why would we want something 5 stories high? Because it's just a couple feet short of that. We have ordinances with our HOA. We can't do what they're trying to do. Safety is essential to consider this planning of the development. The young lady just said that with the other project, that there wasn't a problem with traffic. And you stated, Mayor, about you came out and looked. You need to go out between 7 a.m. and 7:30. They're lined up on Falcon Avenue, and there's so much traffic, they use the center lane, and it backs up. And then again, at the pickup time, between 2 p.m. and about 2:45, they start as much as 30 minutes ahead of time, parking in our residential area to pick up their children, but they're already lined up at 2 p.m. to pick up at 2:30. There's that many cars being used there to pick up their children. The traffic study, I've asked several times, and I keep being told there'll be a traffic study completed before the next, your next session. And what's happened is, I was told the last time there's no traffic study because you did it in 2003. This is 2019. If you look at the number of cars, if they are going to come out of their residence at Falcon and turn left or right, there's a concrete boulevard. They can't turn left there if you got cars coming. It's a mess. They've got 152nd Street that's just right up to the right. So what they're going to do, they're going to come through our residential area. We already have speeders going through there. So your traffic study was promised and it did not happen. So you said that we should have that. The safety of our children are number one. If you don't do something, it's going to be a mess. Thank you.
Thank you.
Paul Lose opposes the staff recommendation and does not wish to speak. Larry Pierce.
Mayor, council members, Larry Pierce, 8340 East Baseline Road, apartment 2009. I will tell you, I get the concerns of the home builder or the homeowners. I was a homeowner for 30 years before we transitioned into the apartment at Aviva in Mesa. But I will tell you that that apartment is outstanding. The developer did an outstanding job in what he built for that community, and the Mark Taylor Management Company is outstanding. It is a place where I can see, and residents are already re-upping their leases because they love what's happening in that community in itself. And to Don's point also is we take pride in that community, and we watch out for each other, and we also take care of those things. Now, I will tell you that it is a multi-generational occupancy. So there's no guarantee that there are going to be families that have umpteen children in them, but you know, it could be from multiple generations and people that are in transition in life and everything. I think you've already had this zone for an apartment complex. I think it would be a mistake if you don't approve Aviva to allow them to build this in Goodyear. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Lisa Lufker opposes the staff recommendation but does not wish to speak. Dennis Craybill opposes the staff recommendation, does not wish to speak. Deborah Craybill opposes the staff recommendation, does not wish to speak. Caitlin Small opposes the staff recommendation, does not wish to speak. Marie Bonnell opposes the staff recommendation, does not wish to speak. Ariel Bonnell opposes the staff recommendation, does not wish to speak. Caroline Ramke supports the staff recommendation but does not wish to speak. Roger Ramke wishes to speak.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. My name is Roger Ramke. My wife and I reside at Aviva at 8340 East Baseline. We have been Arizona residents for over 25 years and homeowners in a 55-plus golf community for 18 years. We are at an age where we want to maintain our active life without the stress of home ownership. A few years ago, we began searching for an apartment, but we came to find out that no matter where we looked, they were small rooms, no storage, and they were just apartments. Then we happened upon Aviva. Being it was under construction, there was no model for us to see. We reserved a unit anyway, reviewing artist renderings. When a model became available, we were sold the minute we walked through the door. We sold our home, settled into Aviva, and turned out to be far more than we anticipated. We are into the green living concept. We think it's good, along with more storage, square footage, vaulted ceilings, energy savings, stainless appliances, amenities such as the beautiful pool that you've seen, media room, fully equipped gym, multiple social areas, playground, dog park. There's something for everybody. We don't consider Aviva apartment living. It's far more than that to us. It's a luxury lifestyle, and we're proud to call Aviva our home. Thank you.
Thank you.
DeMarc Passid or Passio?
Mayor, Council, thank you for letting me speak today. I'd just like to open up
Name and address, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. Dominic Passio, 15162 West Roma Ave, Goodyear, Arizona. I'm going to try to go a different route. Just to put it on record, I do oppose everything today. But I just want to ask the council a question, and not really ask you a question, but give you something to think about, community versus community. All right, here in Palm Valley, Phase 5 is a real community. Single-family homes, people getting along, just like an apartment complex. However, an apartment complex is a business. All right, no matter how luxurious, however way you see it, the landlord or the builder is there to make money. All right, so residents come, residents go. When you have single-family homes like we do in our community, like us, people stay for an average of anywhere between 8 and 30 years. All right, that's a long time to be living in a spot. All right, and so if we build this spot here, right here, is that you're not really adding a community, in my eyes, to Goodyear. You're adding a business right there on the corner for everybody to look at. Me, I'm not impressed, first off. Man. Also, I would like to talk, switch gears here and go to the traffic side, okay? I know there was talks of expanding Falcon all the way through to Camelback. However, I know that the residents will not use that because of that school zone right there at Maybell Pageant. They will actually make a right onto 152nd, and they will use that as a major traffic flow area, therefore creating a major congestion within the actual Palm Valley Phase 5 community. Also, I'd like the board to know that there was no HOA letters sent, or I'm sorry, no letters sent to the HOAs about this product. At least I know that mine did not receive one. I contacted the Total Property Management and asked them about that, and they have never received a letter from this developer. Also, just in ending, since I only have a minute left real quick, is ask yourself a question, especially for the houses right there next to the site. If you walked out your front door, would you like to see that monstrosity of a building? Because I know I wouldn't. So please do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Deborah Lynn Kiphart.
Hi, my name is Deborah Lynn Kiphart. I live at 15322 West Montecito Avenue. I can actually see the dirt from my porch. We're looking forward to having something come in. We've known since we moved in 2011 that something would be built. I think that the proposal is absolutely beautiful. However, I drive to work every day. There's one exit onto Indian School from our subdivision. And I drive at a point where most of the cars have left, and I still have to wait at least one light to get out onto Indian School. 152nd Avenue does go straight up to Camelback. It is the only street in between Litchfield Road and almost to the 303 that goes most of the way through, all the way through really, except to Falcon. A lot of people in the area are learning that that is a throughway. So we get a lot of traffic that does not belong in, to the residents of the subdivision right there. So we have a lot of traffic going through that's really fast. And we have a lot of kids waiting for buses on 152nd Avenue. We've got the school that's right there. I'm just really concerned about the traffic because if there's any accidents there where also the other apartments come out, they're going to be going crossways. There's no stop sign. There's no light. There's just that small portion of road. So that's my thing. There were no homes built there in 2003. There really needs to be a traffic study done before this is approved for at least the traffic portion of it. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next.
Caitlin Ortiz opposes the staff recommendation and does not wish to speak. Anthony Ortiz opposes the staff recommendation and does not wish to speak. Daniela Isbell wishes to speak. Daniela Isbell?
Good evening. My name is Daniela Isbell. I live on 4574 North 151st Drive. So my backyard faces 152nd Avenue. And I did not receive a letter from the builder stating that this will be built. I found out about it because somebody was nice enough to post it on our mailboxes. I'm really concerned about the traffic going up and down 152nd Avenue. There are school kids crossing that street to get to Mabel Paget, to get to Western Sky Middle School, and to get to the high school from the different neighborhoods. And this street is very broad, and it's hard to cross except for there's one stop sign. That's where you can cross. But for elementary children, it's not safe to cross that street already. And when we're adding 600 cars to that neighborhood, some of them going north because of the traffic light being backed up on Indian School Road, then that will increase the traffic in the morning dramatically. The other concern I have is the intersection of Indian School Road and Wigwam, going to the high school from this neighborhood. It's going left is already backed up in the morning when high school starts. And I've seen several accidents at that corner or close to that corner where possibly high school students are involved. So those are the things I want you to look at when you're making your decision. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next.
Steve Fina opposes and does not wish to speak. Jim Waugh opposes and does not wish to speak. Nancy Navarro wishes to speak. Nancy Navarro.
Hi, my name is Nancy Navarro, 15078 West House Drive in Goodyear. The original project was approved in 2007 for the Aviva apartments, or for the zoning actually. However, the apartment complex across the street wasn't in at the time Aviva was proposed as far as I'm concerned or my knowledge. Was that taken into consideration is one thing that I'm wondering. Also, the rear yard setback, the additional space that they're asking for. When I saw the image that he showed, I noticed that there's a lot more parking and units with that additional setback that is being requested, which means more apartments, more parking spots, which obviously means more vehicles, more traffic. I've seen several accidents leaving onto Falcon, going onto Falcon. When will the traffic study be is another question of mine. Is it going to be during peak hours? Is it going to be when the children are going to school, when they're getting picked up from school, during rush hour? Why was the traffic study not completed for this meeting? I think that's a very important study that should have been done for this hearing. The builder said that 288 units, it's for up to 288 units. But again, I'm focusing on the setback. It shows more units, which would mean more traffic. I've seen, again, accidents, not just going onto Falcon when I'm dropping off my kids in the morning, with accidents, with obviously children involved because they're getting dropped off at school, but also parents are passing up people in those two lanes. There's always people complaining about it. We have a Facebook page. I mean, it's just crazy driving during those peak hours. Also, leaving Falcon onto Indian School to turn left. I'm sure everyone here has seen an accident. Let me see here. This is all last minute stuff. So more vehicles. So if there's more vehicles in the subdivision due to that additional setback, it kind of concerns me that with those high rents that some of those people will have illegal subleasing, possibly, to afford that high rent, which means, again, more people, more traffic, and just more danger. The school's already overcrowded, like everyone has already mentioned, or most people have, 31 kindergartners. Lastly, I urge you to vote no on the additional rear yard setback and have another hearing when the traffic study is completed during peak hours. So vote no.
Thank you. Next.
Jacqueline Navarro opposes the staff recommendation and does not wish to speak. Cassandra Parsons wishes to speak.
Good evening. My name is Cassandra Parsons. My current residence is 8340 East Baseline Road, current Aviva resident. And I am also the leasing agent at that community as well. And being in the industry of multifamily housing and helping people find homes, apartments are so important. Everybody needs a home, not just home buyers, as you've seen from the current residents that have spoken this evening. Mark Taylor has very high standards here in Arizona. You see them everywhere. They've got over 50 communities that they have either built or managed. They have very high standards for their residents as well as their screening process. So no felonies are not typically accepted. We have a very thorough screening process in all of our residents. As far as an apartment community, if you're going to put an apartment community in this area, you should go with Jose's design. As far as apartments goes, it's not your typical apartment community, which is also why the first Aviva was the fastest lease up in history. We have a very great demographic as appealing to all ages. And as far as a luxury resort style community with only, I believe it was 12 3-bedrooms, usually people that are raising families don't typically want to spend the extra money on luxury living. So as far as the concerns with the school district, which of course are understood, and as far as traffic, if you're going to have a complex there, you're going to have traffic anyways. Now, you definitely want to have a housing development that is going to bring happy residents to Goodyear. So if homes are going to be put there, make it something that's amazing, like Jose's design. It is beautiful. The lighting is fantastic. I suggest to anybody to just drive by us at night, come in and see me in the office, and I'll give you a tour and give you an idea of what it's like and how happy our residents are. We are occupied right now at 98% because of how amazing our product is and how people love living there. It's a positive energy. It was a positive thing for Mesa. And if you're going to have an apartment community there, multifamily housing, which is always needed, Jose's idea is the best. And as far as the height, with the lighting, it's beautiful. It's not an eyesore. So I do recommend you come take a look. The Mark Taylor's standards and Jose's standards with his community will do nothing but benefit to Goodyear. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Mia Sandia.
Hi, my name is Mia Chandra. I live at 8340 East Baseline Road, number 2041. I'm an Aviva resident. I understand this apartment has been approved since 2013. I'm understanding that. And if you have to have an apartment complex, and it's a sad thing when it's labeled as an apartment complex because it's a resort style living. I'm there since May, and I will renew my lease. It is a safe place to live. It is a beautiful place to live. It is very family oriented. I do live across from the dog park, and I know pretty much everybody's puppies. I can't say that there's an apartment complex, and that is a huge draw for the people. I don't know of many complexes that have dog parks for people. It is safe. They screen the residents very well. There's no felonies allowed. And if you have to have an apartment complex, Mark Taylor is the place to have it because they take care of the residents. There's no Section 8, so it's upper echelon clientele, so you don't have to worry about what would be in a typical apartment complex. I think it would bring a lot of people to Goodyear, and I know the new event coordinator that has all these events planned would bring more people to Goodyear, and those events would prosper. I understand that the gentleman said that the apartment complex is a business. Well, so is an HOA. I went from a house to an apartment, and with the HOA fees that are involved, don't kid yourself, an HOA is a business too. So I would strongly suggest, and I think there's so many concerns, but when they take a tour of the one that's in Mesa and they see that it's not an apartment complex, I don't think a lot of these fears will be alleviated. I think it's a beautiful, beautiful property, and I think it will definitely bring a lot of wealth to the area, and I think it will probably maybe even increase the property value. So I just thank you for letting me speak. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Juan Ramirez opposes the staff recommendation, does not wish to speak. Kanile Grant wishes to speak.
Thank you for letting me speak, Council, and it's pronounced Nile Grant. I live at 8340 East Baseline Road, Aviva Apartments. I spent 20 years working for the Department of Justice Bureau of Prisons. I retired in September, and I moved to Aviva to retire. I think it'll offer a non-traditional retirement opportunity for people in the Goodyear area. For the people like me that don't want to worry about our home maintenance or home upkeeps, the apartments take care of it all. And as far as everybody said along the way about the luxury, it is a phenomenal apartment. I've been to the Caribbean a lot. I will compare it to a resort in the Caribbean. It is beautiful pools, beautiful green space. If you're going to have an apartment complex there, add the extra 10 feet. Go with the building green. Let's worry about our environment. And the apartments are built well with good insulation. Use that space for the insulation and provide a nice home. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Tamir Obeid opposes the staff recommendation, does not wish to speak. Jacob Wilson opposes the staff recommendation, does not wish to speak. Darren Kroc supports the staff recommendation but does not wish to speak. M. Deal supports the staff recommendation, does not wish to speak. Jim Harder opposes the staff recommendation, does not wish to speak. C. Tyrone Dumas opposes the staff recommendation, does not wish to speak. Taylor Perkins supports the staff recommendation, does not wish to speak. Arturo Zuniga supports the staff recommendation, does not wish to speak. Jennifer Sylvester opposes the staff recommendation, does not wish to speak. Laura Grant wishes to speak.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Laura Grant. I live at 8340 East Baseline Road, Aviva Apartments. I'd just like to say, as my husband said, we retired and we moved out here to the area. 28 years ago, I lived in an apartment, and I lived in an apartment. Since then, I've been a homeowner, and we moved out here and we searched different places, and we found Aviva. Aviva is not an apartment at all. It is my home. It's where I will bring my grandchildren to. It's where I can relax. It's where I can, as a teacher, where I can view children outside of the school environment and get to interact with them. Aviva is resort living for me. Every day, I get to walk beautiful grounds that are upkept. There's never any trash out there. The lighting is phenomenal. I have 2 dogs, and I love to walk. There's not any time throughout the day, the evening, the middle of the night that I don't feel comfortable walking my animals throughout my home. I think that if an apartment, as you would call it, is going to be built, build a resort. Build a place where people can call it their home. I think Aviva will give you that. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Cesar Sanchez supports the staff recommendation, does not wish to speak. Gloria Sanchez supports the staff recommendation, does not wish to speak. Joel Ranas wishes to speak.
Joel Reynes, 15509 West Meadowbrook. I'm opposed to the changes. I'm looking at some pictures. They don't have them up now, but if you look at the northwest corner of the new apartments, the exit for those people in relationship to the exit for this new apartment you want to put up, that's going to cause a problem. And I have a question. The Falcon Park, they're going to have an emergency exit entrance there. How many parking places is that going to eliminate? I've been at that park watching my granddaughter play softball, and every parking place was taken. If you wanted to park, you had to park on a side street and walk into the park. So this already overburdened park is going to lose parking places. And can those fire department emergency equipment get in the narrow streets? A couple of years ago on Bullard, on the southeast corner in Indian School, there was a fire. I had to sit and wait because they couldn't get the equipment in with the cars parked back there. They had to park on the street and drag the hoses in to fight the fire. Are we going to have the same kind of problem there? And most of the people here opposing these changes live here. The last half dozen people like that who were for it live somewhere else. They're not citizens in this community. And I think the people living here need to be heard. Thank you.
Thank you. Next. Crispin Nuna opposes the staff recommendation, does not wish to speak. Carlos Rodriguez opposes the staff recommendation, does not wish to speak. Carrie Strand wishes to speak.
Good evening, Mayor and Councilman. My name is Carrie Strand, 15068 West Glen Rosa Avenue. I've been listening to a lot of the people speaking, and most of the ones that I've been paying more attention to, of course, are community members. I'm tickled that people wanted to come out here from Mesa and give their opinions on something that they don't live here and see our community as being different. And I know that our community really, really strives and looks forward to being different than that of Mesa. A couple of things that I do very feel concerned about is, it's been mentioned a number of times, everybody's going to go through 152nd to go up through Camelback to the 303. My child, everybody's kids here, that is a huge outlet where all the bus stops are. We know in the news, we hear the accidents that are happening. It's becoming more prevalent now. It's very scary. I don't think a lot of us are really opposed to the actual site in of itself. It's the height, it's the setbacks. The last meeting I also spoke at, the things that were mentioned and comparable to, they compared it to Live. That's a 3-story. Okay, that's true. That was also dug down. When you look at the setback or the green belt there, please understand that that's 5 feet below the top of that plot. So when you build those up, it's also bringing it up even higher than what the proposed amount is when you look at from our neighborhood. It was also compared, of course, to the retirement community there. To keep in mind, too, that retirement community, that 3-story over by the high school, there's not that many parking spaces. They don't park. Per their website that I looked up again this evening to see, they are saying that there's going to be 662 parking spots in there. They also brag about having their own access to our park right there. I know APS just put a lot of money in there to have it for our community, not just for the use of an apartment complex. Furthermore, when I did hear that this, yes, it does affect our ownership and our property values. I pulled up some statistics, and the only thing worse than having a high density rental community that brings your property values down 13.8% is that of having a strip club. That's the second one, and bad schools. Thankfully, we don't have to worry about that in our community. So I hope you'll take these things into consideration, keeping it lower, keeping the setbacks for the safety of our community, our kids. We walk there. It's a very busy area. We're not opposed, again, to having more people, but I think maybe a 1-story would be a more specific for that area, the same as over the villas. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next. Tyler Phobes opposes the staff recommendation, does not wish to speak. And Donna Strand opposes the staff recommendation, does not wish to speak. And that's the last of them there.
Thank you very much. All right, so we're going to close the public hearing. Will the city clerk please read Resolution 2019-1919 by title only, please?
Adopt resolution number 2019-1919 declaring as public records those certain documents filed with the city clerk titled Official Supplementary Zoning Map number 18-07A, City of Goodyear, AZ, PAD Amendment, Aviva Goodyear Legal Description, and Aviva Goodyear Planned Area Development Amendment, November 30th, 2018.
Thank you. Can I have a motion and a second to adopt Resolution 2019-1919? Do I hear the motion?
So moved.
I heard a motion by Councilmember Pizzillo. Do I hear a second? Second. I hear a second by Councilman Loretano. All right, we're open for discussion. Bill, are you still there? Hello, Bill. All right, we'll check back later. All right, Council, who would like to start?
Sure, I'm here, Mayor.
Oh, you're here. Okay, good. All right, you're on.
Okay. I've got a couple of questions, I think, for Steve.
Steve, you want to go to
First
the microphone?
one is, does our action tonight stay with the zoning or the underlying PAD?
Mayor, council members, would you please clarify that question, Councilmember Stipp?
Sure. And if I can ask you to speak really loudly into the mic, the sound on this end is horrid. My question is, does the action that we take tonight, the height, the increase of the height and the increase of the setbacks, does that then stay with the property through ownership change, et cetera, or is that exclusive to this project?
Mayor, council members, any change that is approved tonight as part of your action, it would change the development standards for this parcel within Palm Valley Phase 5. So it would run with the land with this parcel.
Okay, thank you. Second question is, once we increase the building height to 47 feet, in theory, could a four-story building be built on this by another owner if the property were to sell?
Mayor, council members, with the requested height to 45 feet, we do not regulate number of stories. So the applicant could do 1 story, 2, 3, 4 if they could fit it. We do not regulate the number.
All right, thank you for that. So when we had I'm going to make my statement now, Mayor, since I'm on the phone, and then I can let everybody else go from there, if that's all right.
It's all right.
When we met with the developer on the concept, I walked out of that meeting pretty excited about what a great development this was and how it was bringing something new and something very exciting, and I was pretty excited about that. The Mark Taylor Homes, the property owner, are building a wonderful project. It's something completely different. Walked away and I thought it was great. And then I drove down Pebble Creek Parkway, and as you drive through that residential area heading from Indian School south toward the highway, you see smack dab in the middle a giant 3-story apartment complex for active living, transitional care from solo living to assisted living, and it is astonishing what that does to your eye. So I've asked a lot of questions over the last few weeks about building height and setbacks and how does that all look. And at the end of the day, despite the beautiful nature of the Aviva project, I cannot support putting the additional height on that piece of property. The property is already zoned for 35 feet. It is already zoned for multifamily. So whether we don't want more kids in the schools or we want more kids in the schools or whatever we want, that property is zoned that way, and the owners of that property have the right to develop it in that fashion. That does not mean that we have to increase the height and we have to increase various setbacks to make that happen. I would wish that we could turn that property into something that had shorter buildings, because that's the character of the neighborhood. We just don't have the ability to do that. But from my perspective, I do have the ability to say I'm not going to go to 47 feet. So I won't be in support of the height and change increase on this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Next, Councilman Loretano.
I have a couple questions, but first I do want to thank all the residents that came out to give us their opinions who live in the neighborhood. And I also do want to thank the developers, because it is a beautiful project. And I think that's one thing you kind of really can't get away from it. It is a beautiful project. It looks kind of like Kierland Commons. I mean, it looks like the resort. So it is beautiful. I do have a couple questions. The first one is going to be, I kept hearing over and over traffic. So if we could ask the city engineer to explain the traffic study, what was done and what can be done, and what kind of tools we have in our toolbox, because as Councilman Stipp just said, it will be that first apartment complex we saw where they're all the way to the edges, or this one there in the middle, but the unit number and the people there are not going to change. There's nothing we can do to change that today. So it's either going to be that full first one we saw where they're pushed to the edges and you have those apartments right on the edges, or you're going to have the linear one. So what kind of traffic? And then if I can follow up.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and council members, and I appreciate the question. As I had mentioned during the P&Z meeting,
There had been a traffic study that was done back in 2007 with the original site plan. The site plan is the timeline where you submit a traffic study. So we haven't started the site plan on this process yet, so we haven't submitted a traffic study. It will be updated with the numbers for today and into the future. There will be a horizon year. It will look at MAG numbers. It will look at the number of students that go to school in the area. They will propose who will be living in the apartment complex and which way they'll exit and where they'll go and when they'll go. And we'll look at all that information. I will, as well as my team members, to make sure that we agree with the information that's proposed. We'll analyze that. There are a number of opportunities that we see along Falcon Drive for elongating the traffic signal. There could be a potential for 2 left turns. There could be addition of stop signs along Falcon. All of that will be analyzed when we look at the TIA. So I can't speak to what it's going to tell us, but we will look at it, we will examine it, and we will make sure that it meets our codes and our requirements for the city of Goodyear prior to site plan approval.
And if I could follow up with you on that. I wanted you to let the residents know that you've got some tools in your toolbox that can be done rather quickly, like the elongating the signal. As part of that site plan, can we look into, we heard a lot from residents about 150 seconds. Can we look at the addition of speed calming devices or some sort of lit traffic crosswalk that we've used in other areas? I know those have been kind of successful. We have the flashing crosswalks to stop the traffic. So if there's kids, because like we've kind of talked about, whether the Aviva site turns out to be Aviva or that first black and white drawing we saw with the number stays the same. The units don't change. So I would like to make sure that regardless of what's built there, if we could look in some sort of way to work with that.
And thank you for that question. So we will be looking at 152nd because cars will certainly drive north out of the apartment complex. But from what I'm understanding now, are there concerns today with this area? So those would not be an obligation of this Aviva. However, we would certainly look at calming mechanisms for 152nd, if that's what's proposed by the neighborhood. Again, it's a collector, both 152nd and Falcon. We have to have concerns about fire trucks and things, so we can't just compartmentalize it, but we can certainly, and I've heard a lot of concerns brought up this evening. I'll go back with my team. We'll go take a look. We've already put some video detection in the signal at Indian School. So we've been observing what's been happening for the last couple of weeks. We're looking at the traffic. We're looking at the duration that cars are sitting in the turn lane. So we've already been looking at that area to see if there are issues that need to be addressed by us today.
And then my last question, that might be for the attorney, is can we, as Councilmember Stipp stated, he has a concern that someone, if this land is sold, because obviously we had Exhibit 1 with all that going to the fence, the different units, and now we're on a different exhibit. Let's say this gets sold again. Can we make it part of a stipulation that it can't be 4 stories? Can we legally do that?
I think you're really talking about densities. So you've entitled the property as far as the densities. I don't think we normally would do that, and I'm not sure our code allows that. We're really just regulating densities in a PAD, and it's got the entitled 288 units.
Yes. Councilman Zilla?
Just to follow up on that question, though, but can you put a stip in there that if this is approved at 40, whatever height it is, that only applies to this project? Can you do that?
As far as this project and this owner?
Yes.
It's attached to the land, and I would say no.
No?
No. You're regulating the use of the land, not the particular ownership unit, because they will have the property right to transfer that property.
Okay. Another question.
Let's go ahead.
For Steve. Let me ask you this, Steve, since this is zoned for apartments. Is it possible, because some of them are concerned about, well, first of all, they have how many units they're allowed to put on here? 200 and what?
88.
288.
Yes, sir.
So is it possible, if this doesn't go through, you can get a live, 3-story, flat roof, block, up against to the minimum setbacks of 30 feet with 238 units on that property, and we couldn't do anything about it?
Mayor and council, you could get a similar development like Councilmember Loretano has talked about the previous Harmony at Goodyear that was approved in 2007.
Okay.
Yes, sir, you could get something like that. If this did not move forward, something like that could take its place.
And we couldn't do anything about it. So now you'd have 3 stories all around the outside and the inside, even though it might be 10 foot lower, okay? And you still have the traffic concerns. And you have the flat, everything would look the same. There's no break in the look as far as stone or how the center, stuff is done. I guess the reason why I ask is sometimes you gotta be careful what you ask for, since it's already been zoned for apartments, is that you may end up getting something that you're definitely not gonna like, maybe more than the way this looks. That's all I'm asking. Is that possible to put something like that on that site?
Yes, sir, you could get a different apartment if they could, within the 30 or 35 feet, do 3 stories. You could get that type of development on site. Staff would ensure that design guidelines for Palm Valley and the city are adhered to all other development regulations. But yes, you could get a very much different looking.
And I would assume Lives is within that 35, because I don't recall them coming before us asking for any extension. So I would assume that 3-story complex fits standard into that type of units. Is that fair?
Mayor, council members, it's opposite from the Aviva site. When we measure from the road, Aviva loses 2 feet. Live actually gained a few feet. So that's why they could go a little higher but remain within the required maximum building height.
Yeah, the only reason why I ask is we hear some things here about the height and how it's setting up. And it's on the inside is the height, not the outside. That's where the structures are. Where you could actually get another apartment complex in there where where the height structure may be a little lower, but it could be all around on the outside and consistent throughout.
Yes, sir.
Correct? And they don't even have to come before us.
No, sir, they wouldn't.
Okay. Other quick question on the emergency exit. Does that impact the park as far as parking spaces?
Mayor, council, it does not. There is a turnaround there. Laney, could I have the presentation, please? Councilmember Pizzillo, this is a turnaround right here. It's not a parking space.
I see. Okay.
The applicant would propose to connect to that turnaround. As the connection, they would be required to meet all codes in terms of width and turning. They would also be required for a preemption device so the fire department could get access to this area.
Keep that up for a second, that picture. See, my only concern is because of the way the zoning is and the way it's set right now. And again, as I mentioned, the 3-story, one behind the other, behind the other, behind the other. 2-tone, which meets our palette, same color, light brown, dark brown, flat roofs, no mix, no stone, no nothing. Could replace that on that parking, on that area there. And I'm visually thinking about that at that site. And I don't think the residents would really like to see that there as compared to that. That's where I'm kind of toying with, because it's already zoned for the apartments. This, from my perspective, with the way they've set on the intern, is going to look much nicer than if you have the other type of apartments coming in and filling up that spot. And they don't even have to come before us. They just go ahead and build it. Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Councilman Knapp.
I'm kind of echoing some of the same questions, but with the traffic study, I'm concerned about, I mean, a lot of residents talked about the traffic as well as the impact to the school. And it's not like there's already an issue with 152nd and Falcon. And I'm not sure, to Sherry's point and your point as well, I mean, is there other mitigation factors we can look at now or that we are looking at for that area? Even without the apartment, it sounds like there's already traffic issues, so.
Thank you, Mayor and Council Member. And again, as I said, we are looking at the area right now. I cannot tell you for sure that we've identified issues that need our resolution at this time. However, we constantly work with PD around the schools when there's traffic and peak hours. So we'll, again, look at this area and see what we can do to help mitigate that. We work very closely with the schools to also have them assist us with parent drop-off and pickup, and so that parents don't show up 30 minutes ahead of time and queue in the right-of-way.
And then just the process that we have here as well. So say the traffic study does come back, how do we know could that stop the project from moving forward? Or how would we know if it's good or bad, I guess, in the study? We do the study, but is there thresholds that we have to meet, that there's too much? What is too much, I guess?
So thank you, Council Member. Again, as I said, there was a site plan that was submitted in 2007.
Yeah.
All I can say is that at that time, with 288 units, that it was approved. Now, I want everyone to understand that when we review a site plan, it's not based on what's happening there at that very moment. It looks at the entire area and what it's zoned for and what potential traffic could come out of those developments. And again, it looks at what's the traffic on Indian School today, what's it going to be in 5 years. So we don't just look at it with a myopic view. We look at it into the future. What if growth occurred in different areas? We look at peak times. We look in the morning. We look in the evening. We look throughout the day. So we analyze every piece of that to make sure that we're not causing issues anywhere. And whatever we can do to make that situation palatable for the driver and an acceptable situation, we will do that. And again, today, when I look at the video that we have, I did not see any time where that left turn lane coming south onto Indian School was not cleared with one light cycle. So with that said, if we're going to add additional traffic, we're going to look at elongating that signal. We'll look at it adding 2 left turns. Again, I don't have the information in front of me, but there are a number of opportunities we have to look at mitigating the traffic concerns that have been brought forth.
So I guess going back, so we do, you said it comes after the site plan approval, right? So if we do the traffic study, does that stop anything if we don't like what we see in the traffic study? Or is it just we do the traffic study and then we address those concerns at that point? It won't stop the project, the traffic study.
Right. We will do what is never ever necessary to mitigate the traffic concerns.
Okay.
And again, I've not had a situation where traffic was a project was stopped by traffic, so I can't really speak to how that would happen. But again, I'm comfortable with what's been done in the past. And with what I know about this area today, and know that we will look at it and review it completely.
Okay, and are we doing anything, so the residents coming out of this complex, they're all taking the left turns, is there anything we're doing to help them make that left turn out of there? Or is it just timing right now for the turn?
There is no proposed changes to allow them an easier left turn out.
I was thinking of like that Christopher Todd project where we had like a right turn only type thing and another option for people to leave the area. So I was just curious if we were doing anything like that. And then the part, I think we talked about the exit there for the emergency exit, and it is really tight. I know we need to look at that as well. And I talked to the landowner about maybe giving us some extra parking there. But yeah, that park is really packed because I know I've been going to my son's flag football there, and the residents will go up and around into that neighborhood and then cross through the wash to get more parking. But that's probably a separate topic than today. But
yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Kano?
Thank you, Rebecca, for all the information about traffic, because that certainly is an overriding concern. So you are already studying Falcon, and then we've heard from the residents the concern about 152 up to Camelback and the impacts there. I also heard concern expressed on turning left onto Wigwam towards Millennium High School off of Indian School. So would you be evaluating the impact of that intersection as well?
So let me respond to that in two separate ways. So this evening I heard that there are concerns about that today. Again, it's an opportunity for us in the traffic division to take a look and see if there's any other mitigation opportunities for us at this time, if there's signage that's necessary. Again, we'll take a look at that and see what's going on. As it relates to this project, we do look at the surrounding areas and the impacts to that. So it will be included in the traffic study as well.
Okay. I also heard you say that you work closely with PD, especially in and around the schools. Mm-hmm. And I have heard loud and clear from the residents tonight that road safety, school safety of the children going to and from school is an overriding concern. So I don't know if maybe additional enforcement might be needed in that area regardless of this, just because it has been expressed as a concern.
So we work with PD, and then we work with the individual schools about their queuing distance, their drop-off times, pickup times, things of that nature, to try to help them manage the queuing on site. Sometimes, as with one particular school, they've added a couple different dismissals to allow for the queuing to be staggered. Those are the types of influence that we have with the schools in helping them manage. Now, they certainly have reached out to the police department, and if Chief wants to jump up to ask for additional assistance during times of transition between one type of dismissal routine versus another. And they can certainly work with the schools on that, and I see the Chief coming in. But it wouldn't be something we would require.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So you can't hear very good in there. All I heard was if the chief wants to jump up, so I jumped up. So could you repeat the question, please, for me?
Yes, the residents have expressed concern about ingress and egress through the streets surrounding with the buses coming in, with kids walking to school. And regardless of this project coming in, there's a problem with speeding and high traffic volume and concern about the children crossing safely.
Yeah, so I think I heard Rebecca talking about, we work with the schools, we work with all of our schools and develop plans, particularly at the beginning of the year when they have issues. And we put plans into place working with the schools. So the other part of that is enforcement. This has been brought to our attention. It's very easy to go out there and do some extra enforcement.
Okay, that actually the word enforcement was one of my questions. So thank you for bringing that up. And then Rebecca, and I'm not sure if this falls within your purview, but at what point have the schools been notified about possible development? I mean, they surely are aware that it's multifamily and 288 units, but are they looped in anywhere in the discussion?
I can answer yes, they are, but I'm going to ask Steve to jump back up here and maybe discuss the notification process.
Mayor, council members, through the public hearing process, we are required to send out notice. And at the time of project submittal, we usually also like to notify certain agencies that we do have an application in. Luke Air Force Base is one that we always like to notify. With the schools, we did notify the schools with all of the public hearing notices that were sent out. We did reach out to several members of the school, the Litchfield Elementary School District Administration. We did let them know we had this application that we were reviewing. To date, I have not heard any comments or questions from the school regarding this.
Okay. One last question. It did come up tonight that there was concerns about possible impact on city services, police and fire, but I believe I heard you say something at the beginning of your presentation about that's already been factored in. and there would not be a negative? Maybe you can confirm.
Mayor, council members, with this project, the property does have an entitlement for 288 multifamily units. Whether this amendment to those development standards is approved or not, that development impact will exist when someone comes to develop this property. A lot of the impacts are based off of the number of units, 288 units, water, wastewater. So those impacts will be there. The city and other utilities will have to deal with those impacts, whether it's Aviva or another multifamily development that develops this site. Since it is already zoned, we could have a developer come into our offices tomorrow and start the development process. So now the city has to get ready for those impacts. So again, whether it's Aviva or another project, there will be those impacts to the area.
Mayor, Council, just for additional clarification, as Steve mentioned earlier, during the normal course of reviews of development applications, we participate in what we call the Development Review Committee, which, as Steve pointed out, has police, fire, public works, and our other sister agencies, internal and external. So everybody participates and has an opportunity to provide input on anticipated impacts that projects may have. And this particular zoning application was no different than that. It participated in that development review process as they move forward with site plan approval. If the council should elect to approve this tonight, it would also be reviewed during the site plan approval process. Whereas Rebecca illustrated earlier that the traffic engineering department, engineering, construction standards, building safety, all of our partner agencies, both internal and external, are participating.
Councilman Bazillo?
For the city engineer, will we see any of the results of that traffic study as this thing moves forward? The council?
The site plan is administrative, so you would not.
We would not. All right, the other question is there's 238 units, correct? And we regulate density. So since it's 238 ends, could they build 4-story, but 238 units, or is there a height restrictions? Or 288? You get 280 units, does it?
You have that answer.
Is it limited to how high they can go?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor, Council, to answer that particular question, it's 288 units, not 38, just to be clear for everybody in the audience and also for the council. So it's 288 units, which are currently entitled. This proposal is not changing that, still 288. We regulate by building height, as Steve alluded to earlier, not by the number of stories. So what that does is it allows flexibility in the design of projects so that not all ceiling heights are the same throughout the city, and it allows flexibility with things as they're constructed. If the building height is approved for 37, which is what the applicant is asking for tonight for the habitable space, and then the non-habitable space, I believe, is 45, that would be the limitation that would run with the land, as Steve indicated earlier.
So they could go up to 45 flat roofs if this is approved then?
So the way that is written, and I may turn that back over to Steve for a second, it's 37 feet to the top of the habitable, 45 feet to the top of those tower elements, which were open and not habitable.
So they couldn't build a 4-story building there?
So again, I don't want to go back to the stories. I just want to talk about the height.
But I'm trying to picture 4 stories and 35 feet.
Could it be done? I suppose a creative architect could probably get that. Typically, we don't see that because the market characteristics drive ceiling height, and obviously, if somebody's going to invest in the property, they want to have it marketable.
So I'm trying to get back to an earlier question I asked, is if it's approved, and I think somebody asked, is there a possibility of a 4-story going in there? if this doesn't go through. It doesn't sound like to me that's a possibility because they wouldn't fit within, in today's market or the way they're built, they wouldn't fit into that 37.
Yes, sir, I would tend to agree with you.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, because it's not livable.
It's not livable at that point.
The top portion is not habitable.
That's the key.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, the other question, let me think about that for a second. On the design to make sure this specific project, okay, gets approved and it doesn't die and somebody else comes through with different standards or whatever, do we ever put, what's the term I'm trying to think of? Do we ever put a timeline on the initiation of this so it's limited to this project so that if it doesn't happen, it kind of defaults back to the original? Does that make sense, Mr. Lawyer?
Yeah,
From a timing standpoint?
It's a reversionary clause. That's difficult in this regulatory environment because of Prop 207. Previously, prior to Prop 207, it was not uncommon to put reversionary clauses in zoning. Okay. But now under the state regulations, it can impose liability on the city to do so, absent an agreement outside of the zoning with the landowner.
Okay. The only reason I'm asking, I'm just trying to figure out, I think if apartments are going to go on this site, okay, and if you're going to put the inside the highest, I can think of a lot of other apartment complexes that could go on there. It could look a lot worse than this.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes, sir.
And that's kind of my concern since it's already zoned for it, or what we can do and what could happen if we don't approve this one and somebody comes in and just meets the 35 or whatever and meets that palette. And some of our palettes, and I'd really be honest with you, I'd love to see those revisited, are very generic in color that could come in here, start tomorrow with the process, and we would have no say over it. Okay? The neighborhood would have no say over it because it's already zoned for it. And that's kind of my concern is you've got quality versus you don't know what could go in there, even though it's all zoned for apartments. And you've got 288 that can go in there, and that's a lot of apartments. And I'm not even sure one story, 288 will fit on that property.
I think Steve wants to make a comment.
Go ahead.
Steve, go ahead.
Mayor, council members, apologize I didn't clarify this earlier.
Steve, could you talk into that? It's a little lower. Lift it up. Thank you.
Mayor, council members, we do have attached to that ordinance stipulation number 2, I believe, that ties this development to a narrative that was submitted with the rezoning application. And that narrative was part of the council packet that I know you reviewed. So it ties it to this illustrative site plan in a conceptual way. Things can change once you get into the engineering, but staff would be looking for a development that would be consistent with this design, the amenity package, with the rest of the stipulations, with the design of the buildings, the architecture, the towers, all the amenities and enhancements that were provided. That's the PAD process. We would be looking for the developer to their site plan, that it would be consistent with all the stipulations and everything that was approved as part of this action.
Well, just to follow up then, and that's, I appreciate you clarifying that because say, for example, this doesn't happen, then it would prevent, in other words, another, say, live with multiple 3 stories looking different than this if it goes all the way up around the edges, all the way around from happening because it wouldn't be in conformance with this PAD. Is that a fair assessment?
Mayor, council members, if we do see this with PADs, the specific developer may not choose to go forward. Another developer comes in. The standards that are approved tonight as part of this PAD amendment, that's the standards that we would apply to the next application. So it may not be Aviva Goodyear, but we would be looking for the same kind of enhancements, design that was provided, that council approved tonight. That's what we'd be looking for.
So it would limit something of a nature that I'm mentioning where you got a lot of back-to-back 3 stories that may not be as creative as this from happening if this goes through versus if this doesn't go through, somebody could come in tomorrow and put 3 stories back-to-back as long as they met the setbacks then there's not a thing we could do about it.
Yes, sir. If this is approved tonight as the applicant would like it approved, then that's what we would expect to see developed. If someone wanted to come in and develop something different, then it would be back through this process, the
All
public
over
process.
again.
Yes,
So
sir.
then the whole process then. So prevents something significantly, okay. Which gives us some latitude for somebody coming in here and just filling it with a bunch of apartments with no, you kind of get my drift there. That's kind of my concern looking at that, since it's already zoned for this, is what are we going to get on here from a quality standpoint? And I can appreciate the residents and not wanting to look at that, but at some point, because it's zoned, apartments are going to go on there, and you could get some things on there that I think you can do a lot worse than what's on here, because, you know, from a design standpoint, that could go here, and we won't have anything to say about it, especially if this gets turned down. Okay, thank you.
Councilman Loretano?
I think Councilman Pizzilla pretty much covered my question, because I wanted to make sure that if, from what Steve was saying, sorry, I would make you stand up again. From what Steve was saying, we're not going to get what the Harmony plan is with the height of the Aviva plan, because that we don't want to see. So if Aviva were to not get built for whatever reason, let's say, the Harmony plan with all of those homes aren't going to be the height of the Aviva.
Mayor, council members, yes, through the PAD process, we are permitted to approve a plan as part of the zoning action. So we would be looking for this plan with this, as development comes forward, we would be looking for something very similar to this.
Okay, gotcha.
Any other questions? All right, Mayor's last. I like the looks of this apartment complex. One of the fast, you have to pardon me, I obviously am getting a cold tonight. So anyway, we are one of the fastest growing cities in Maricopa County. We're acquiring some fantastic businesses now, a data center, a good manufacturing. We're bringing people in, and we're giving people here in Goodyear higher paying jobs, and it just continues. And we need a variety of housing, and I think this gives us that. I sat there this morning from 7:15 to 7:45, and I counted the traffic. So first 7 cars came, and they got all through the light. Then it was 13, and they came up, they were stopped. They were short of the light changing, and so if they would have gone through, they would have had a red light. Their timing leaving home just didn't work out. And the next 3, 4, and the next 3 series, they all got through. 5, 7 cars. And then the next one got through. There are 3 of them, but the last one ran red light. So when you talk about their speeding, he started watching. He started from the back, and he saw it was going. And I mean, he zoomed through that. He was lucky they didn't get hit. I had 6 others go through with no problems. 9 went through with no problems. 5 went through with no problems. 7 went through with no problems. 14 went through with no problems. 9 went through with no problems. So when you say that, if you sit there, no, the light's not that long. I was amazed how quickly the light changed. I live right next to the Indian school. I'm in Pebble Creek. I'm one of those creekers. And I will tell you, you can hear the sound, and there is traffic, but it's not even compared to what it will be someday. That's an arterial road. That's for traffic. That's for heavy traffic. And it's going to continue as our growing city. The thing we're doing now, we're coming out with signage so we can get the trucks off the streets, aren't supposed to be on the streets, as we're trying to improve upon that. But this city is growing. There's no way we can tell people to stop moving to Goodyear. And I just want on some of your comments, and I just have to, and so some of you will be angry at me, but that's okay, because I'm talking from my heart too. So views are not for sale. The mountains are not for sale. You have your plat, we're giving it closing time, and that's what you have. And you hope that your neighbor keeps up their lawn and keeps their house nice, and that the HOA will make sure that happens. but that's where it is. And so I was in the business, and it can't be sold. Unless you had some forest park in the back of you that's never going to change, and then you have a view. When you wrote some of the letters, and I just have to tell you this, I really was disturbed when verbiage like deals made, money's exchanged hands. Please, that's not our council, that's not our city. That's why our city's popular. We have a very honest, good city with absolute excellent staff. And what you saw tonight coming forth answering questions is part of that excellent staff. We work very hard on keeping your streets up, building you parks, bringing entertainment to the service. We work on your quality of life. It's very difficult with a growing city, and I know when you bought your home, you thought it would never change in there. But when you have a raw piece of property anywhere near you, can be anything. Can be anything. So it's unfortunate, but that's the way of the business. And then there is the Constitution. When people, developers or private people, buy a piece of property in a city, they have their rights too. So to bring that all in is really difficult. And in this case tonight, you brought up some very valid points about the school. Now, I go up to those schools frequently, read at them, so I'm up there, but I'm not up there at drop-off time. So that concerns me, and I know the chief and the staff will take care of that. The parking at the park, we need to clean that up. We're next to the Aviva, the park you talked about on Indian School. We need to look into that. We need to find out who's parking there illegally. And then we need to look into where extension we could get in there. I don't know. You said that you park somewhere in the dirt or something. Is that what you said when you take your kids over there?
It gets so packed that you gotta people drive out into the neighborhood and then cross through the cul-de-sacs up there.
Oh, okay, all right.
The roundabout.
Yeah, and they should not be going through, people should not be going, taking shortcuts through people's neighborhood, and we need to stop that. And I say, let's give them a ticket once in a while, chief. Let's put someone there, and let's say you can't do this in Goodyear. And I'm hoping the signs would, but I'm very supportive of this. This is quality. And I know you talked about public housing, and it would be good for us to have some public housing somewhere someday, but I can tell you, your neighborhood would come in and here and complain if we did public housing, truly public housing, because they wouldn't be happy with that either. I don't always agree with that, but that seems to be the way people do when we decide we're going to do anything low housing. And when they came in and bought and built the lower homes next door, we had people that complained about them. My property values are going down. They've got flat roofs. We'll never be able to sell our home. We're lost. So the market changes, and with the market, home design changes. And it also changes with ages of people coming to your city. So the need grows for that. I want to thank you all for coming and talking tonight. There's nothing more nerve-wracking to stand at that microphone, say your name and telephone number, and then tell how you feel, because in your gut, you're very upset. And I've been there before, so I understand that. But I just want you to know we tried to make this process really fair. This council studied so much before we got to this dais tonight. This isn't something we just say, oh, we're just going to vote whatever. No, we look at everything, and we challenge staff also. And you saw tonight staff is being challenged. We will fix that traffic situation. It won't be what you want when you moved in. You know, when I moved in 20 years ago, 9,000 people, okay? So as you grow, and it's going to continue growing, you're going to have traffic. And our job is to manage the traffic, try to do the things that we need to do. So again, thank you all for being here. So we're going to close this public hearing up of the vote. So I'm going to close it. And will the city clerk please read Resolution 2019-1927 by title only, please?
Actually, Mayor, we've already read the resolution. We have a motion and a second
Well,
on
I
the
tell you,
floor.
this has been a night for me, hasn't it, again?
It's been long already.
Okay, so, all right, so I'm up here. Okay.
So we just need a vote.
Be on 3.
Okay, so what? Is this the one with the increased height that we're voting on? Yeah, that's the question, what we do about that increased height.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, the item you have in front of you right now is declaring this ordinance a public record. The appropriate place to address the height is going to be in the third action item.
All right, so I'm asking for a roll call on the adult ordinance number 2019-1417. Is that where I'm at?
You're asking for the roll call on the resolution at this point.
Yes, okay, but is that the one, that's the one, number 2?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you. All right. So discussion is done, so roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Loretano?
Aye.
Councilmember Hampton?
Aye.
Councilmember Kano?
Aye.
Councilmember Pizzillo?
Aye.
Councilmember Stipp?
Nay.
Mayor Lord?
Aye.
The motion carries.
All right, thank you very much. All right, let's go to 7.2, public hearings is considered.
Madam Mayor, Madam Mayor,
Oh,
we now need to address the ordinance.
All right.
And this would be the point if council wanted to address the change in the height. It would need to incorporate it into the motion to increase height as staff illustrated in their
So
presentation.
this is a result of what planning and zoning passed, that addendum that they did.
Correct. The item in front of you is what planning and zoning passed, that it does not include the increased building height.
Okay.
So if council chose to consider the increased building height, you can incorporate this language into your
Do we
motion.
negate that one?
It would negate, it would include the stipulations passed by P&Z. It would add the building height. Or council can just vote on the ordinance as presented in the presentation, which does not include the building height. Or we can just, or you can make the motion
Why
to
don't
discuss
you,
the height further.
So it's passed, right? So why don't you give us a statement that gives us the right to bring it back to the way it was originally? Is that what we're looking?
With the height?
Right?
It's the second one right here.
Yeah.
The maximum building height will be 37 feet. Unoccupied architectural elements, decorations and towers, and the parapet walls may be constructed to a maximum height of 45.
That language is not in the ordinance, but you can make a motion to add that language to the ordinance.
Who would like to make a motion?
So moved.
We had a motion by Councilman Kano.
And
And second by Councilman Loretano.
And Mayor, just clarifying that the motion includes the language that the mayor just read.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, so roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Hampton?
Aye.
Councilmember Kano?
Aye.
Councilmember Pizzillo?
Aye.
Councilmember Loretano?
Aye.
Councilmember Stipp?
Nay.
Mayor Lord?
Aye.
The motion carries.
All right, thank you very much. All right, am I ready now to go to 7.2 and make another
I
one?
think we still have to vote on the ordinance. Though, right?
Where am I?
It's the ordinance.
Yes, 7.2.
7.2, thank you. All right, public hearings, consider a request. Let's let people it out for a moment. I'm taking a break while they got out. Okay, why don't we do that? Just about, let me get people out. 10 minutes? We're going to take a 10-minute break. It's 8:43 now, so why don't we just run and be back at 9 o'clock?
Madam,
Mayor?
Madam Mayor.
Yes. I'm out of order again. Go
No,
ahead.
sorry. Madam Mayor, we need to go back to 7.1, the third action item. Didn't have the clerk read the title of the ordinance. Under our city code and charter, we need to do that, and we're going to ask you to re-vote on it,
Okay,
just to make sure we got everything squared away.
all right. So will the city clerk please read ordinance 2019-1417 by title only, please?
Adopt ordinance number 2019-1417, conditionally amending the Palm Valley Phase 5 Planned Area Development PAD to modify the development standards applicable to an approximately 15.9 acre parcel located at the northeast corner of Indian School Road and Falcon Drive within the Palm Valley Phase 5 PAD, amending the zoning map of the city of Goodyear, providing for non-abridgment, providing for corrections, providing for severability, providing for an effective date, and providing for penalties.
So I need a motion.
So moved.
All right, motion by Councilman Basillo.
And Madam Mayor, that's to include the previous stipulation
we could have
regarding
said
the
that before.
height of 37 feet.
right.
Let me just go ahead and read that in the record to make sure. The maximum building height shall be 37 feet. Unoccupied architectural elements, decorations, towers, and parapet walls may be constructed to a maximum height of 45 feet. So that stipulation will be added to the,
It's
the
added
main
to it,
motion.
so I start the motion over again to make sure.
Yes.
Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Councilman Basillo, a motion is second by Councilmember Loretano. Open for council discussion? No discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Hampton?
Aye.
Councilmember Kano?
Aye.
Councilmember Pizzillo?
Aye.
Councilmember Loretano?
Aye.
And I believe Councilmember Stipp is no longer with us on the
No,
phone.
that's correct.
And then Mayor Lord.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. All right, let's go to 7.2 is a public hearing to consider a request to rezone 95-acre Goodyear Airport Commons property on the southwest corner of Bullard Avenue and Van Buren. Public hearing opening. Karen Craver, Planner 3 to present. Hi, Karen.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Council. The Goodyear Airport Commons 95-acre property is located on the south side of Van Buren and bordered on the east by Bullard Avenue and on the west by the Bullard Wash property. To the west of the Wash is the Centera single-family neighborhood, about 350 feet west of the subject property. Mike Bushbacher of Hunter Engineering, on behalf of the property owner, submitted this request to rezone the property from AU agricultural urban to I-1 light industrial, C2 general commercial, and MF24 multifamily residential, along with a PAD overlay. The PAD overlay is requested to provide for this 5-acre flex zoning area in between the commercial and multifamily. Depending on market conditions, that 5 acres will either develop along with the commercial property or with the multifamily property. The I-1, C2, and MF24 properties will adhere to the city's zoning ordinance development standards, with the exception that a 10-foot landscape buffer will be developed along the western limits of the property to provide for connectivity with the enhanced Bullard Wash. And by the enhanced Bullard Wash, we mean that the property owner, the Goodyear Commons property owner, will develop the wash per this trail section from the city parks plan and will provide for a 10 to 12 foot wide compacted DG path with 10 foot wide landscape buffers on either side of that. Also, because of the property fronting on Bullard Avenue, they will adhere to the recently approved Bullard Avenue corridor design strategies that you all saw a couple of months back. And this exhibit is from that plan. It shows the monumentation entries, gateway areas at both Bullard and Van Buren and Bullard and Yuma. This exhibit shows what those corner areas are going to look like. They're about 125 by 125 again, occurring at Van Buren and occurring at Yuma. And then this is the entire streetscape going from Van Buren, partway down Bullard, and then continuing from there down to Yuma. Eight members of the Centerra community attended our neighborhood meeting that we had on this rezone, and they voiced concerns about the possibility of a warehouse distribution building being built somewhere in this industrial property within the I-1 zone property. One member of the community also came to the Planning Commission meeting on this item, but unfortunately arrived after the item had been heard by the commission. Staff and the Planning Commission are both recommending approval of the rezone subject to the stipulations in Ordinance 1422. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have, and Mike Buschbacher is also here representing the property owner.
Thank you, Karen. Would the applicant like to speak at this time? Yes, please come forward.
Hi, thank you, Mayor and Council. As a planner, we strive to do these sort of projects where we provide a mix of uses instead of just saying we want to go ahead and provide industrial in this area, even though it's kind of developing as a tech corridor. We thought it was important to provide a mix of uses, including housing, commercial, and then the industrial. This plan is consistent with the general plan designation, business commerce. It's suitable for the requested uses of I-1, C2, and MF24. The MF24 buffers the commercial from the single-family residential. In addition, there's a nice large Bullard wash area, which will become an amenity for the neighborhood and the community. It promotes orderly growth. It will conform to the Bullard Avenue corridor design standards, as mentioned before, and it promotes a good mix of graduated uses. So we really believe that this is a benefit to the community, and we would seek your approval for the project.
Thank you very much. Are there any speaker cards?
Yes, Mayor. Susan Jackson.
Good evening, Mayor, Ward, and City Council. My name is Susan Jackson. I'm a homeowner on South 151st Avenue, 367 South 151st Avenue. I've lived there for 15 years. My house backs right onto the Bullard Wash. I come here with, now I come with scrubs, but I have over 25 years experience professionally in community development and in housing. And I think this is a mistake. If you look at our neighborhood has an estimate of anywhere between 29% and 46% home ownership. As you know, home ownership leads to neighborhood stability. Goodyear brags of a 74% when the national average is 63. We are way below the national average. We're way below the average for the Phoenix metro area, which is 53%. That's why we probably didn't get a turnout. Did owners get the cards, or did tenants get the cards? We have a high rate of tenancy. You add this multifamily to the other three high densities, two of them are high density that are going in our neighborhood, and then the other lower density behind the emergency room. What are we doing to the effective rate of home ownership? Neighborhood home ownership brings stability. Homeowners participate in their neighborhood. They get involved. They vote. They get involved in the PTA and the Boy Scouts. Their children do better in school. Their children are more compliant. Their children get better grades and graduate. Their children earn more money over a lifetime. Home ownership leads to financial gain, generation to generation. We need to promote home ownership. If we do not have home ownership, we're not going to have a nice, safe, walking neighborhood. We're going to have a transient neighborhood. When problems come, home ownership reduces crime rate and reduces drug use in the neighborhood. Tenants, when there's a problem, they move on. They go someplace else. We need to promote home ownership in this neighborhood. We do not need M24. If we have to have multifamily, make it M12. Oh, do we need light industrial right behind that can go all as high as to a power plant? This is abutting a residential neighborhood that, and along the Bullard Wash too. No one has addressed our walls are 3 feet above grade of the road, and behind those walls are swimming pools. What happens with all the heavy equipment from construction and from trucks coming and going to warehouses? Who's going to warranty that wall? Those vibrations are going to do something. There's a lot of concerns here that I don't think have been addressed adequately. That when you're abutting a commercial property next to a home, this is something you see on the way down 51st Avenue or 35th Avenue that came in a time of industrialization, not when we can plan a community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Are there any other speaker cards?
Ben Hager opposes the staff recommendation but does not wish to speak. Megan Rangel.
Hi, this is new to me, speaking into a microphone. And
Yeah, just so we can hear you, just push it. Maybe someone will help you a little bit closer to you. Yeah.
okay. So I appreciate you saying earlier that it's very nerve-wracking to stand here because it is so for me. Am I supposed to give my full name or address, or I don't know? Megan Rangel, 389 South 151st Avenue. I also back up to this wash. I'm the original homeowner. Lived in Goodyear 14, 15 years, taxpayer. I'm a single mom. I'm here after work. I have some serious concerns. I'm excited to see all the development that's going on along Estrella Parkway. My family and I, my boys and I have been really looking forward to the park. So I appreciate all the development that's going on and how you've advocated for our community. However, I feel like my community, Centerra, is being surrounded north, south, east, and west now with multifamily housing, which is concerning to me. I absolutely agree that we need a mix of housing, and I know that my one voice can't stand against this, but I'm asking you to consider reducing the amount of housing, lowering the density, and also I'm hugely concerned with the light industrial going on, and I know that there's another portion, another parcel south of this that's also being considered for light industrial within 500 feet of my home. So that's very concerning to me. I don't, affecting property value, noise level, anything that would come along with that. So I do want to say, though, that there are a number of my neighbors who are completely unaware of this going on. Other than me talking to them, they had no idea. So I don't know if there's a way to increase communication with residents and the number of people who were not able to be here. Parents, single parents, young children. My kids are home alone right now. It's 9:15 at night. So I don't know if this is the way things usually go, pretty late at night, but people had to leave. So there were other people here. And I think that's it. But thank you.
Thank you. Any other cards?
No, Mayor.
All right, thank you. Would anybody in the audience like to speak? All right, then I'm going to close the public hearing. Will the city clerk please read Resolution 2019-1927 by title only, please?
Adopt resolution number 2019-1927 declaring as public records those certain documents filed with the city clerk entitled Official Supplementary Zoning Map number 18-11, Goodyear Airport Commons Legal Description, Goodyear Airport Commons Pad Overlay, dated December 2018, and Bullard Avenue Corridor Design Treatment Strategies, dated November 2018.
Thank you. Can I have a motion, a second, to adopt Resolution 2019-1927? Do I hear the motion?
So moved.
I heard a motion by Councilman Loretano, a second by Councilman Pizzillo. Open for council discussion. Councilman Pizzillo?
Karen, I have a question for you. Go ahead and hold this up. Typically on this project, and I know you have the wash, what's the distance between the borderline of the project and the, I guess, the backyards to the home?
It's approximately 350 feet, Council.
350 feet. Let me ask you this. When you usually do developments along this line, and I see the green line there down there to the left. Is there any buffer or a wall or anything there separating that from the wash?
Mayor, if I may, Councilman Pizzillo, the applicant will be developing a, in addition to the decomposed granite path and the 10 feet of landscaping on either side of that, they will also, on their property within the multifamily and within the industrial, also add in additional 10-foot buffer. And typically, industrial developments have some sort of wall because of the screening of the equipment and trucks that may be located there, as well as for security purposes.
So if I understand you right, there'll be 10 feet to the left of that arrow, green, that I'm looking where the purple is, right, yeah, right there. Okay. And then there'll be inside of that another 10 feet, so you have 20 feet. What do you mean by landscaping? There'll be trees or just low shrubs?
Trees and shrubs.
But there will be trees there.
Yes.
Is that part of the requirements in your plan, or when they submit their plans to make sure there's trees buffering that in there?
It is called out in the PAD overlay document, and we will compare the site plans to that PAD overlay document when they are submitted.
Typically the walls, 4, 6 foot, 8 foot?
6.
6 foot? Okay. What I'm trying to do is get a feel for what they will actually. Is there a walking path there?
That's what this green line is, and that's what the Goodyear Airport Commons property owners will construct within the Bullard Wash property.
Okay. I'm just trying to get a feel for what they will see on the other side. Will some of that be buffered as a result of, I assume, the trees and the shrubbery that they have in there?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. I can't allow that. So, do you know what the fence line is on that, the area that they live in?
I'm sorry, Mayor?
Is there a wall at that development that the individual came and talked to them?
It's possible that
over in the housing development, I don't know. Yeah.
Over here in Centera? Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, there is. They have I believe it's a 6-foot wall. Okay. A 6-foot wall behind those homes.
Okay.
That runs along that property line.
All right. Thank you. Councilman Loretano?
What is currently, sorry, I'm trying to lose my voice. What is currently the rest of the Bullard Avenue corridor zoned as?
Over here, there is C2, on the east side of Bullard, there is some C2 commercial right up along Van Buren. The remainder of it is I-1 light industrial going all the way down to Yuma.
And then the path is all the builders are going to follow through this path down Bullard Wash?
Yes, we will implement that same pathway as the properties to the south of this continue to come in for approvals and development.
And the landscaping, is that consistent down that side? I know we're talking about consistent down Bullard Avenue, but will it be consistent down the Bullard Wash as well with the trees that you guys were talking about?
Yes, this is what will be implemented. Here's the property line of the industrial development, and those property owners will put in this 10-foot buffer. They'll put in the DG path, and then they'll put in a buffer on the other side. And then this is where the wash will be channelized. Right now, that area is not channelized. They need to do that in order to bring their own property out of the floodplain. Right now, it's a fairly flat, but yet a drainage course there. They will channelize that, and then between the channelization and their property line, they will create this sort of amenity.
All the way down to Yuma?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Kano?
We've seen other light industrial where residential has come up next to it, and there's usually some type of setback on the light industrial side. So what is the general setback on their side of the property?
The typical setback for the buildings is 30 feet. However, when you have industrial buildings, there typically is a fire lane or drive aisle that will go all the way around the building. Industrial buildings can be taller, so those fire lanes and drive aisles need to be approximately 26 feet wide. So you've got the wall of the building, you've got a 10-foot separation, you've got the 26-foot wide drive aisle, then you've got the 10-foot landscape buffer, and then you've got the perimeter wall. It is a typical situation for an industrial building. So the requirement is 30 feet for the building, but just the development features of that type of project make it larger than that.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Hampton?
So I know this is in line with going along the same with the trail. Is that, I know I said it's in line with the open space master plan, but does it complete what we want the board wash to be in the future completely? Or is it just that section of the trail, like the Maricopa County Trail and that trail right there? I was curious, are they helping us to complete what we want for the board wash to be like it is up in north of McDowell?
Nathan's standing and raising his hand to speak, so Nathan?
Nathan may want to jump up like the chief.
A lot of jumping going on today.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor, Councilmember Hampton. This will complete the trail portion of that area. So the answer is yes, this will complete the trail portion of that area.
Okay.
But it will look much differently than what the Bullard Wash looks with the large green open spaces and the large turf areas. This is just more of a trail network.
Okay. Do we plan on having that in the future there?
Mayor, Council, if I can clarify one element. We are, with this, we're talking about the landscaping buffer zone and the DG path, but we are not talking about the full improvements like Bullard Wash north of McDowell. Okay. Frankly, that's a citywide improvement, an improvement of regional impact that is likely beyond the scope and the control of one singular project. So they're doing this, they're implementing the portion that they're sort of responsible for, if you will, with this drawing, but not doing that full Bullard Wash improvement like north of McDowell.
Okay, so we're getting a portion of it, essentially. All right. And then the other question is going back to the picture of the land there itself. Let's talk about apartment complexes. Is there a spot along, are we planned for a light? I was thinking about traffic again from the last discussion we had. But is there a plan for a light with Skyway traffic and with a potential multifamily there to catch that kind of potential new traffic along there?
I hear someone.
Rebecca's back up.
Nobody jump.
Hi, thank you, council member. We do not have a plan at this time to put a traffic signal at that location. It will be all way, and we'll continue to monitor it like we do every other access point like that. I think we've shared with council before where we have a list of 10 to 15 areas that we're constantly looking at. And again, this will be something that we'll look at in the future.
Would someone a developer who put multifamily there share in the potential cost for the light there?
If this were to be approved, we would look at that as we move forward, but at this time, a signal has not been contemplated there.
On Sunday, Skyway Church has 2 policemen out there every Sunday.
I know there are, and I could just think of other.
I know you were that.
More traffic there.
Yeah.
In the future, considering the last one we had.
Mm-hmm.
So. And can you remind me what the difference between M24 and M12, what the density level is?
This is MF24, which means it could be developed with up to 24 units per acre.
Okay, versus 12 acres.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
12 per acre.
And Mayor, if I may, Councilmember Hampton, one thing that you're not really seeing clearly on here is there is going to be a roadway that's going to come out here onto Bullard. So the multifamily parcel will come out onto that. The industrial parcel will come out onto that, as will the commercial. So there may be some sort of secondary access that goes up here for emergency purposes, but there's going to be a primary roadway that goes through here that all these different uses will get onto first and then go out onto Bullard.
Okay, thank you.
So could you explain what the, again, because I could see the neighborhood was a little upset about the industrial. So, you know, so when you think of industrial, okay, you think of things standing above a wall. You see machinery hanging up beside, you know, so would there be a big, a high, would the building, if they build the building, just be a cement wall there, or would it just kind of give me a description of what that end of the building would look like to the neighbors?
The building itself, if it were to develop as a typical warehouse distribution facility, would more than likely be built in this alignment. Okay. There would be, if it's like Chewy,
that's
over on 143rd, there would be overhead doors here on the south side of it, and there could be overhead doors on the north side. These type of facilities don't put their, at least not that I've seen, don't put the overhead doors on the west side or the east side because they don't want the direct sunlight coming into those open overhead doors. So yes, it would be probably a solid wall here and on the Bullard side. But I think with the city's design guidelines that you have all approved, I think we've got some pretty nice looking industrial buildings, and we would look to do something very similar.
Yeah, I totally
what
agree.
has been done elsewhere in the city.
I agree with you. I love our buildings. That particular side is an area that I think if we could not put a door, not put a loading on that side, just a suggestion that it might help the neighborhood as far as their feelings toward it. Yeah, go ahead.
And for that use, I mean, are we foreseeing it being a warehouse, or it could be other uses, right?
It could be any
like high tech, or I don't know, potentially like I know Vantages would be across the street, maybe another Vantage on that side potentially, or other uses besides.
It's our technical corridor, so.
Yeah, it'd be our technical corridor, so I would hope that we get something more technical, but it could be just but it could be a Chewy's, but it could be something on the other extreme, meaning like a Vantage that we already announced type thing.
How big is the building? How big would the buildings be?
Oh, Mayor, we don't have a site plan in for a building yet. This is just to go from the agricultural zoning to the light industrial zoning in that particular section. So we haven't seen a site plan yet. That would be the next process, but certainly we would implement all of our design guidelines should it develop as a distribution facility. But you're very correct. It could well be a data center. It could be any other light industrial use.
Any other, Councilmember Kano?
Oh, I don't have a question. I just want to make a comment about the whole Bullard corridor. Certainly with the enhanced landscaping, we are really working hard to brand that as a special area, a tech corridor. And I know that our economic development people are going to be working very hard to attract those technical types of businesses. And some of us attended the Urban Land Institute, and we're all learning and we're seeing in real life that mixed use is where things are going now, that it's the new norm. And people want places to walk to and they want places to work, and all those things are sort of coming together in that area. And I think we've seen a lot of development like that, combination of multifamily and commercial, or combination of multifamily and single family, and looks like we're really responding to the current trends here in Goodyear.
Any other comments? All right.
Madam Mayor.
Yes.
Based on a few of the comments tonight, I would recommend we take a brief break and go into executive session for some legal advice on this matter, if you'd indulge me.
Yes, all right. All right, we're going to go into executive session.
Yes, Madam Mayor, you need a motion and a second and a roll call.
I'm looking for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All right, heard a motion from Councilman Zillo and a second from Councilman Kano. We're now going into exec session.
We need a roll call vote, Mayor.
Yes.
We need a roll call vote, Mayor.
Oh, roll call vote, please.
Member
Council.
Kano?
Aye.
Councilmember Pizzillo?
Aye.
Councilmember Loretano? Aye. Councilmember Hampton?
Aye.
Mayor Lord?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay.
Microphone's going to make a motion to continue.
It's green. I think I'm good now. Mayor, I move that we continue this matter until the council meeting, I believe February 11th is our next council meeting.
All right, do I hear a second on that motion?
So moved.
All right. Roll call vote, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much. All right, 7.3 is a public hearing to consider a request to amend the Sun DS Farms Planned Area Development. Open the public hearing. Alex Latinsky, Planner 2, will present.
Mayor, members of council. Sundias Farms is the property located at the northwest corner of Estrella Parkway and Elwood Street, west of Goodyear Ballpark Wood Campus. To the north, or to the south, is the Estrella Crossing Business Park and Arizona Galvanizing. To the west is Cerebral Village, and to the north is Estrella Vista Community. In 2008, the approximate 100-acre site was zoned planned area development under the Sundias Farms PAD and included a mix of residential and business commerce uses. In 2014, and how the PAD exists today, there's approximately 47 acres of commerce center, which is the area in blue, and then the remainder of the property in yellow is designated for residential use and permits a range of development standards established by the 2018 and 2014 districts. The Commerce Center designation currently allows for a mix of low-intensity industrial, office, and retail uses. So the purpose of this request tonight has two main goals. The first is to rezone parcels D and E, outlined in red, to residential uses. This does not make any changes to the parcels A, B, or C. The residential standards allowed for the existing residential parcels will be carried over to D and E. The second is to restate and simplify the PAD. The current PAD currently has about 73 pages, whereas this proposal simplifies the book to about 11. As I mentioned, the PAD maintains all the original standards that were approved in 2008 and 2014 and applies them to parcels D and E. We also added a permitted use table to make it easier for staff and the home builders and future residents. Since approving the zoning ordinance text amendment in 2017, staff has evaluated all PAD amendments using the reduced lot design elements for justification. The applicant has provided those elements for justification to parcels D and E, and just a quick overview for their amenity. They have additional park space, the connectivity, they have small blocks, it is an infill site, enhanced roadways, and then for streetscape, there are alley-loaded options, shared driveways, and so on. On December 4th, staff held a citizen review meeting. The applicant and staff were available for questions. However, no one from the public attended this meeting. Prior to the Planning Commission meeting, staff received one phone call from the property representative at the Estrella Crossing Business Park. Their main concern was the intersection of 156th and Elwood Street. Prior to the commission meeting, the engineering department, planning department, and the property owners discussed a solution to maintain the full access point at 156 in Elwood, and the property owners were satisfied with that resolution. That being said, staff finds the rezone consistent with the general plan zoning ordinance requirements. For rezoning, Planning and Zoning Commission did recommend approval of the item unanimously on January 9th. That concludes my presentation, and I can answer any questions. The applicant is available for a presentation or questions as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Would the applicant like to speak?
Mayor Ed Bull, 702 East Osborne, on behalf of Sun DS Farms. I'm here with Todd Tupper and with Kevin Kugler. I would be happy to forego my 2-hour prepared speech.
Thank you.
In light of the excellent presentation made by Alex, I agreed with every word of it. We appreciate the recommendations for approval. We accept the stipulations. If you're happy, we're happy, and request your approval. If you want a presentation, I'll give it. Hoping you don't, I'm happy to sit down.
Thank you. You may sit down.
Thank you.
Are there any speaker cards?
No, Mayor.
Would anybody in the audience like to speak? All right, then I'm going to close the public hearing. Will the city clerk please read Resolution 2019-1928 by title only?
Adopt resolution number 2019-1928, declaring as public records those certain documents filed with the city clerk entitled Supplementary Zoning Map number 17-08A, Sun DS Farms LLC, Exhibit B, Legal Description, and Sun DS Farms Final Pad Regulatory Standards Book, November 2018.
Thank you. Can I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Loretano did the motion. Second was Councilman Kano. Open for council discussion. No discussion. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Pizzillo?
Aye.
Councilmember Loretano?
Aye.
Councilmember Hampton?
Aye.
Councilmember Kano?
Aye.
Mayor Lord?
Aye.
The motion carries.
Thank you. Will the city clerk please read ordinance 2019-1423 by title only?
Adopt ordinance number 2019-1423, amending the Sun DS Farms LLC final planned area development to expand the medium-density, single-family residential land uses and eliminate the Commerce Center land uses, amending the zoning map of the city of Goodyear, providing for severability and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Can I have a motion a second to adopt ordinance 2019-1423? I hear the motion.
So moved.
Second.
I heard a motion by Councilman Bazzillo and a second by Councilmember Loretano. I'm sorry, Councilmember Kano. Open for council discussion. No discussion. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Loretano?
Aye.
Councilmember Hampton?
Aye.
Councilmember Kano?
Aye.
Councilmember Pizzillo?
Aye.
Mayor Lord?
Aye.
The motion carries.
Thank you. So we're down to 7.4, the last business items, to authorize the expenditure for a solid waste and recycling service and to authorize a position. Barbara Chappelle, Utility Operation Manager, presenting. Welcome, Barbara.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. You may recall about a year ago, I was before you to discuss the results of a solid waste study that was performed with a consultant, Burns McDonnell. And as part of that study, we looked at really everything solid waste. We looked at all of our levels of service and included even a feasibility study on whether or not we should try to bring our residential services in-house. Ultimately, the recommendation was that we seek a new contract since the existing contract expires on June 30th of 2019. So we kept the consultant on board to assist with the preparation of the request for proposals, to help through the procurement process and the evaluation of our proposals. Our request was for the scope included residential as well as city facilities and landfill disposal options. We began the request for proposal process utilizing the Title 34 procurement rule in the state statutes, and issued a request for proposals on August 22nd. Offers were due on September 12th, and the city received 4 proposals. The proposals were from curbside, allied waste, waste management, and right-of-way disposal. The RFP process allows the city to take into consideration criteria other than just cost to determine who the most responsive bidder would be awarded a contract. Our evaluation team consisted of 4 city staff and 1 staff member from another city. We also kept, again, Burns McDonnell on staff for consulting services. So the criteria that we used and was advertised in the RFP there was 4 points. One was a cost proposal, one was the proposed approach, one was experience and references, and finally the financial history. Due to the nature of the services we were requesting proposals for, cost was a major factor. The points awarded for cost made up 60% of the score. It was in this area, right-of-way disposal was our top proposer. The next most heavily weighted criteria was the proposed approach. This area, the evaluation committee considered the proposal's approach to the overall services, their transition plan, a public outreach, what vehicle configuration they were going to use, numerous items, and again, right-of-way disposal was our top performing proposer. In our experience and references, we requested each of the proposer provide us with 3 communities from the Southwest. All of them provided references, and then finally in the financial history, this was the lowest score, but it was based exclusively on the financial records that were submitted by each entity. All scored the maximum points with the exception of Curbside, which was a much smaller locally owned company. So our top 3 proposers all had a market capitalization that exceeded $20 billion. The evaluation committee determined that the top 3 proposers were all very strong, and the main significant difference was cost. It was at that time they decided to proceed forward with right-of-way disposal, and we checked their references. Every reference we called gave great reviews, and it even mentioned that they were renewing contracts with them. So we began to speak about the specifics. One of the main specific points we talked to them about was our disposal location and whether they were open to us using other options for our disposal or if their cost required us to use their landfill, in which they responded we had options, we could go wherever we wanted. So staff is still working on additional locations for our disposal. From our residents' point of view, there should be little to no change. They will see new red and white trucks instead of the pretty green and white ones they've been seeing. Their service should primarily be on the same days, maybe some adjustments in time. We're always analyzing routes. The transition should be pretty seamless. The other change that they will notice is that our sanitation services will only observe 4 holidays a year. In previous contracts, we required them to take all of the city's holidays, and it disrupts the service and is confusing to residents. So we try to minimize the impact by keeping it to the 4 holidays. The request that is before you this evening includes a full-time position for a solid waste superintendent. This is to help facilitate with our transition plan to a new vendor and provide ongoing contract management for our division. Our consultant, Burns McDonnell, remains under contract to assist with preparing our transition plan to include some major milestones such as the equipment procurement process, familiarization of routes, including some dry runs, the staffing, so the onboarding and orientation, as well as on-route training of the staff that right away we'll be bringing in, customer service coordination. Our centralized city customer service representatives will be the point of contact for all of our residents, as is now. Any risks that we may see we'll be addressing regularly, and a communication plan or program that will be coordinated with other city departments. So all of these partnering departments in the city, such as finance, communications, and the Public Works Department, will be working together regularly, holding meetings to ensure the transition occurs over the next 5 months. And so when the old contract ends, our new one's in place. And I also would like to introduce to you this evening Bart Powell. He is my co-presenter, and he is also the representative from Right-of-Way Disposal.
Welcome.
Thank you, Barbara. Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, Bart Powell with Right-of-Way Disposal. I just want to say it's a privilege and an honor to have the opportunity to come up here and be able to speak with you and kind of give you an overview of right-of-way disposal, and RAD is what I like to call it. We started out in 2007, obviously, from my staff and my team, and I would like to introduce Jeremy Takis and Larry Williams back there. They're all part of my team. I got a lot of other good people that are back at my office, too, that weren't able to make it this evening. And just to commend staff and how great they were to work with and how thorough they were. This isn't my, first city I've had the opportunity to get up and present to, but I do want to commend you with your staff on how well they did and the vetting process they went through. Right-of-way disposal started in 2007. One thing that's kind of unique about RAD is, from starting from one truck, growing, it's always about reputation and getting new customers. But we also went through and permitted, which from the original staff, a transfer station, then we permitted a Subtitle D landfill and another transfer station in Phoenix, and then developed and permitted a MRF. It's very rare to have the management and the personnel in place that have gone through all the steps of the gamut, from the regulations to permitting, to running the trucks, to the safety, to everything that's involved from the nuts and bolts of running this business, that I can say that my company has all the original people there that started it and will always be here. We have our cell phones available. It's not, we don't come in and I sell it to you and you never see me again. I hope to be here multiple times through community events. I always like to say all the contracts that we get, we don't just come in, we win the award and you never see my managers or me. We become part of the community. I have staff that go out to community events for education. We have cotton candy machines. We blow up balloons. We'd like to be a part of the community, and that's what sets us apart from the others. Obviously, we've been growing in our growth process we went through. We did merge with Waste Connections, which is the, probably I think the number 3 largest publicly traded company. I'm still here. I'll always be here. I'll always have a part of this company. Obviously, we started it from scratch. I'm not going nowhere. Now it just went, we were growing. Now we have obviously all the resources from safety to technology behind us. So now I'm looking, we got done with all the permitting landfills and transfer stations and recycling facilities. Now I'm excited to obviously hopefully get home more and see my wife and my 3 boys that are there, but plus to have more time to get involved in the community, because I have been real busy the past 10, 11 years. But anyway, I don't want to take up too much time. I know it's getting late, but again, thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. Barbara, thank you for the presentation. That was a good one.
Thank you. And I'll stand by for questions if there are.
All right. We have any speaker cards?
We do, Mayor. Clark Landrum.
So Clark Landrum, 18605 West McDowell Road. Good evening, Mayor, Council. Waste management has been a pillar in the city of Goodyear for the past 12 years and recognized by the residents, businesses, and leaders in the community as a partner, playing an invaluable role in helping the city prosper and grow. Our facility is a local business that we have here within the city limits of Goodyear, and we offer the sanitation division and the residents of Goodyear the convenience of disposing of materials at a nearby location, as opposed to the recommended haulers facility, which is located in Phoenix. Both the sanitation division and the residents have expressed preference with a quick and timely turnaround of our facility. Our facility has just undergone a $9 million renovation in support of the city of Goodyear as we look at future growth within the city. We've added a compressed natural gas fueling station and brand new CNG trucks. which are already servicing the city of Goodyear. So, it minimizes any transition whatsoever. We've heard nothing but positive remarks from the residents regarding these new vehicles. Speaking of your residents, Waste Management's approval rating has been ranked excellent from several independent surveys in Goodyear. Most recently, Goodyear residents were polled regarding current trash and recycling services and what they viewed as important. 97% of the residents polled said they were very satisfied or satisfied with their current services. Interesting enough, having the lowest price was not a top priority to your residents. They've spoken countless times that they're happy with and have the utmost confidence in Waste Management. Furthermore, in the recently published City Livability Report, residents ranked their trash and recycling services as an exceptional value. Only the fire and police scored higher in those ratings for city services. With respect to the supplier the panel is recommending tonight, the supplier's largest town service is roughly 1/3 the size of Goodyear, which should cause grave concern that they can even provide the same quality of service that the city of Goodyear is accustomed to. I assume the panel hopes they can. To me, that's a pretty big hope. Lastly, in conclusion, I want to talk about, our sustainability program and being in the city. We know the city, we know the roads, we know the complexity that is involved in this unique and great city. So in conclusion, as a community partner, I ask for your consideration to vote against the staff's recommendation and keep Waste Management as your preferred supplier. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Are there any speaker cards?
Yes, Mayor. Alberto Guardado.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Alberto Guardado, 4811 West Lower Buckeye Road, Phoenix, Arizona. I'm the General Manager for Republic Services, or Allied Waste Transportation, which also submitted a proposal. Appreciate the opportunity to have submitted a response to the RFP, and I also applaud staff for the job that they've done. I want to tell you a little bit about Republic Services. We are we are one of the leading solid waste and recycling providers in North America, but we also call Maricopa County and Arizona home. Our corporate headquarters is here. We have vast assets in Maricopa County as well as in the West Valley. In your neighboring community of Buckeye, we operate the Southwest Regional Landfill, which was one of the options that we presented in our proposal. We also have a transfer station at 51st Avenue in Lower Buckeye, which is actually 4 miles closer to the city of Goodyear than the facility the recommended provider will be using. So we want you to just consider a few things before you make your final decision, and perhaps even pause the process as you reevaluate what's best for the city of Goodyear. First, as I mentioned, your trash is going to travel further to get to your trash and recycling will actually travel further to get to its final destination. The recommended provider's landfill is off of Interstate 10 on the way to Tucson. As I mentioned, our landfill is located right next door in the city of Buckeye. We have vast experience providing service to communities the size of Goodyear. And finally, we submitted an alternate proposal that was not considered that would have given city buildings free service, would have allowed the solid waste department to dispose of bulky item collection up to 5,000 tons a year at no cost, as well as a fixed price escalator per year that would have given the city rate certainty for the entire length of the agreement. That alternate proposal wasn't considered in the committee's evaluation, and we hope that you take the opportunity to take a look at that. Appreciate your time and have a great evening.
Thank you. Any other speaker cards?
No, Mayor.
Would anybody in the audience like to speak? All right. Is there a motion and second to authorize the fiscal year 2020 expenditure subject to appropriations in the fiscal 2019/20 adopted budget and allow the city manager to sign a contract for services? Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
I hear a motion from Councilman Basillo and a second from Councilman Loretano. Open for council discussion. Councilman Basillo.
I had a question for staff. I just got a couple of questions. Through the entire process, and I guess you're aware of some of the issues that have been raised tonight as far as deliverability. With all the due diligence that staff has done, do you feel confident that who is getting this award or that you're recommended that can deliver excellent service and meet the requirements of the city from a customer service standpoint with the award of this tonight to who you recommended?
Councilmember Pizzillo and Mayor, it was a unanimous decision by the evaluation committee, and we all felt strongly that right-of-way disposal was the best solution for our residents.
Second question, where are you as far as the disposal and where they're going to be able to, citizens be able to drop that off? Are you getting any closer to getting something closer than what we had talked about before?
So we do have one option that's getting close. We wanted to close this item out this evening, and then I'll be working with our procurement department to see if there are other facilities in the area. As you heard this evening by some of our other partners, there are other disposal facilities around, and so we would really look forward to working with them potentially on a disposal location.
I don't want to put you on the spot, but do you think you feel comfortable that you're going to be able to find something closer from a negotiation standpoint?
Yes, sir, Councilmember Pizzillo.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Kano?
There were letters sent with specific allegations or concerns about the awarding of this contract, and I understand that the protests were filed beyond the date, but did you consider the statements made in the protest letters in making this final decision as well? For example, the size of the company and the scope of service and things like that.
Yeah, so when we published our request for proposals, we were very specific with the experience that we were requiring, and that was that the proposers had to have 20,000 accounts or more. That wasn't per city, it was 20,000 accounts. We also took into consideration the size of all three of the top proposers were all very large corporations. So again, pretty much all things considered, we thought any one of the three, but even when we took cost out of our evaluation, right-of-way disposal was our number one proposer. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions? All right. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much. All right, we're nearing the end of the meeting, so the second motion is there a motion, a second?
Excuse me, Mayor?
The full-time position.
Okay. I apologize, Mayor, go ahead.
Did she even talk about this? So I can do that. All right, is there a motion, a second, to approve the full-time city position for the solid waste superintendent and authorize required budget transfers? Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right, here motion by Councilman Basillo and a second by Councilmember Loretano. Open for council discussion. No discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much. All right, council, we're down to your comments and updates and requests for information. Does anyone have anyone? No, not tonight. I can understand. Does the city manager have anything to report? I'm agreeing with you on that. So let's go on down to the next meeting. Will be a special meeting on February 4th, 2019 at 5 p.m. February 11th at 5 p.m. a work session, and February 11th a regular meeting. No further business. This meeting is adjourned.